Chapter 201, Reunion in Chaos City. Dong, dong, dong. Qin Hao, who was cultivating in the small courtyard, was awakened by a knock on the door. He slowly stood up and walked towards the gate. Although he didn't know who was coming this time, Qin Hao was not in a hurry. In primordial Chaos City, over 100 years, very few people had come to find Qin Hao, and they all knew that Qin Hao was a cultivation maniac, spending most of his time cultivating. Even if they had cultivation problems they wanted to discuss, they would wait until the day Qin Hao gave a lecture before coming. Up until now, the only people who had visited Qin Hao were Long Yu King with Zhan Yan King, King Tian Yu, and others, as well as Venerable Guiyi. Long Yu King and the others were more of a regular visit, as they were champions who were relatively familiar with Qin Hao, which was why they visited at the beginning. As for Venerable Guiyi, after handling some matters, he returned to primordial Chaos City and had some simple exchanges with Qin Hao, and also allocated some resources to Qin Hao. Subscribe for more amazing novel audiobooks. Don't forget to like, comment, and share infinite novel audio. As for everyone else, they had never visited Qin Hao's small courtyard from beginning to end. After all, although most of them were powerhouses from Virtual Universe Corporation, their status was much lower than Qin Hao's. Qin Hao also showed that he was focused on cultivation, so others did not dare to disturb him. Qin Hao was still very curious about the visitor this time. He came to the courtyard gate and opened it. Before the gate was fully open, a huge palm appeared directly when the gate opened a crack, pushing the gate open and entering the courtyard. As the gate opened, figures followed the foremost figure, entering the small courtyard and beginning to survey the entire courtyard. Qin Hao, you really know how to enjoy yourself. We're still in those small rooms, but you already have your own exclusive courtyard. Thunder God looked around, his tone full of envy as he surveyed the entire small courtyard. Yuo Feng, Hong, Rongjun, and Balin all nodded, their eyes also filled with envy as they looked at Qin Hao. How did you all get together? Qin Hao was a little surprised to see that all of them had reached Domain Lord. He knew that Luo Feng had broken through to Domain Lord, and Luo Feng's strength had reached a certain level, making it meaningless to remain at universe rank. He hadn't expected that the other few people had also broken through to Domain Lord and come to primordial Chaos City together. The current 5, Luo Feng and Balin, belonged to the primitive mystical region, while Thunder God, Hong, and Rongjun were still in the highest beginning mythical region, but they had improved very quickly in their comprehension of laws. If they waited until the next qualification battle, they could completely enter the primitive mystical region. Choosing to break through now meant facing the qualification battle later, and their opponents would be stronger. Qin Hao was very approving of their rapid progress in cultivation. Telepathy, Thunder God said playfully at this moment. We just happened to arrive together. We can't make any major breakthroughs in a short time, and we have enough energy in the various mystical region missions, so there's no need to stay, Hong said. Hong had a very strong plan for his own cultivation. Even his current teacher mainly offered opinions and explanations on law comprehension and cultivation, and did not have too many rigid arrangements on his cultivation path. From the Great Nirvana period on Earth, from a race without any cultivation civilization to the strongest of a race, he even comprehended a domain that even universe geniuses could not comprehend at the planetary level. Hong and Thunder God's physical talents were not strong, but their cultivation talents were definitely not weak. They only lacked time and resources. After entering Virtual Universe Corporation, these two shortcomings were compensated, and their cultivation speed naturally increased. Now, the two of them were even stronger than Rongjun, and the distance between them and Luo Feng and Balin was not insurmountable. However, we just reached Domain Lord, but you've already reached World Lord Peak, past the primitive Tangshan Mountain, and established a sect in primordial Chaos City. The gap is getting bigger and bigger. Rongjun's tone was somewhat lost. During the genius battle, Rongjun had wanted to challenge Qin Hao and was instantly killed, but the gap was still visible. Now, the gap had become so large that he couldn't even see Qin Hao's back, and he felt a bit dejected. However, Rongjun's aura quickly became even more frenzied, and his fighting spirit reignited. "Qin Hao, one day I will definitely defeat you." As Rongjun shouted, he seemed to have undergone a transformation. Even Balin, who had always been very calm and expressionless, seemed to have had his fighting spirit ignited at this moment, his eyes flashing with light, and a hint of fighting intent appeared in his gaze towards Qin Hao. As geniuses who joined Virtual Universe Corporation in the same genius battle, Qin Hao had always been everyone's goal. "Since you're here, let's have a discussion today. I don't know what level your law comprehension has reached, so this is a good opportunity to discuss the Tao with each other." Qin Hao said, waving his hand, and 6 meditation cushions appeared on the ground with a small tea table in the middle. On the tea table were a pot of tea and 6 teacups. "Sit down," Qin Hao said, taking the lead to sit on a meditation cushion and pouring a cup of tea for everyone. At the same time, a hazy light rose throughout the small courtyard, and the surrounding law aura, the aura of the 10 great laws, became much denser. This was also Qin Hao's new comprehension during this period, being able to gather the aura of the 10 great laws and enhance the sensing of the 10 great laws. After Luo Feng and the others sat down, they felt the changes around them, and each of them became very serious. The manifestation of laws and the special environment in the primal universe itself could accelerate law comprehension, and now the speed of comprehension increased again. After the few people were seated, starting from Luo Feng, they began to recount their respective comprehensions. From lower laws to higher laws, they each explained their understanding of laws, their understanding of secret techniques, the small tricks they discovered during the comprehension process, and even some experiences during missions. Luo Feng's sharing also attracted the attention of the other few people, especially Luo Feng's slight comprehension in the fusion of law of metal and space law, which made the others envious. They all had some understanding of fusion laws, and it was precisely because they had some understanding that they knew the difficulty and the significance it represented. Now, he had actually entered the threshold of fusion laws, having already led by a significant margin among the few. After Luo Feng's sharing, the few had a simple exchange, and Qin Hao then began to speak specifically about law of metal, space law, and fusion laws in response to Luo Feng's sharing. From the further comprehension of law of metal, to the further comprehension of space law, and then to some problems and directions in the fusion of gold space law. Has the gap reached this point? Balin thought as he listened to Luo Feng and Qin Hao's sharing. Balin's cultivation speed during this period was not slow either. His space law progressed rapidly, and his time law also made considerable progress. Compared to the original work, he was 1 or 2 steps stronger. Even purely in terms of the heavenly bridge, Balin and Luo Feng were on the same level. However, Luo Feng's current display of comprehension in the gold space fusion law, he knew, meant that Luo Feng had already moved ahead of him. Chapter 202, Rapid Progress. Chapter 202, Rapid Progress. For 10 days, the sounds from Qin Hao's courtyard never ceased. However, most of the time, Qin Hao was speaking, and Luo Feng and the others were listening. After Luo Feng, Balin and the others also shared their insights and some issues and questions regarding their comprehension of laws. Qin Hao offered advice and guidance tailored to each person's situation. For Balin, in addition to his comprehension of time law and space law, Qin Hao specifically mentioned wind law, as well as the fusion of wind law with space law and its fusion with time law. As for the integration of space-time law, it was still too difficult for Balin at his current stage. Even Qin Hao couldn't fully explain the fusion of time law and space law, and might even lead Balin astray. However, on the fusion of wind law with space law and wind law with time law, Qin Hao had relatively more authority. In fact, Qin Hao was more optimistic about Balin's talent in wind law and space law, believing that the fusion of these 2 great laws might proceed more smoothly. After all, Balin, who initially focused on wind law, did not first comprehend time law, a higher law, but rather space law, which also indicated some underlying issues. What's more, Balin's talent in space law was far superior to his talent in time law. After Balin, Hong began his sharing. Compared to Balin and Luo Feng, Hong's sharing, in Qin Hao's eyes, was more profound. Whether it was his deeper contemplation of laws or his reflections and insights on his state of mind during cultivation, these were the deepest among everyone present. Hong was already a master of mental cultivation on Earth, and now, having experienced the tempering of the universe, he had taken another step forward in his mental cultivation. The changes in his state of mind also made Hong more focused on his cultivation and better able to grasp the essence of laws. After all, he was an existence who became a true god in the original work, and his talent was beyond doubt. What Qin Hao could offer Hong was more of a sharing and guidance on law comprehension. There was very little he could truly instruct him on, except perhaps in the area of fusion laws. For an existence like Hong, guidance was more practical than direct instruction. With a spark of inspiration, he could follow that spark, delve into deep thought, and steadily grow. Compared to Hong, Thunder God's personality was more uninhibited and more attuned to law of thunder and time law. His characteristics of swiftness, forthrightness, ferocity, and pure heart also made his comprehension of law of thunder incredibly fast. Hong and Thunder God are now getting closer and closer to the strength of Luo Feng and Balin. Surpassing Balin might just be a matter of time, but surpassing Luo Feng is hard to say. After all, Luo Feng himself has many opportunities and good talent, and has now embarked on the path of law of metal and space law fusion. Coupled with the 9 Tribulation Secret Codex he obtained on Earth, he could take off at any moment. Even Qin Hao could feel the pressure, as Zuo Shank had prepared many things for Qin Hao. Various heavy treasures and secret techniques. The current lead was only temporary, and how he would grow in the future, and what unknowns lay ahead on his own path, remained to be seen. However, while feeling the pressure, there was more excitement. The last one, Rongjun, was relatively easier. Qin Hao provided explanations and answered questions regarding Earth law and space law, as well as some guidance on comprehending the essence of laws. Rongjun also gained a lot. Rongjun's race itself determined that he would achieve certain accomplishments in the future, but to what extent would depend on him. However, Rongjun's inherent unwavering fighting spirit and resolute state of mind also laid a good foundation for the future. After the guidance concluded, Qin Hao immediately enveloped the 5 in a secret technique of dreamlike enlightenment, then returned directly to his room to begin cultivating. After the 5 awakened from their dreamlike enlightenment, they also left Qin Hao's courtyard and returned to their respective cultivation grounds, entering deep seclusion. Qin Hao's guidance and the insights from the dreamlike enlightenment were enough for them to digest at their current stage. Qin Hao, meanwhile, returned to his own cultivation, comprehending laws, fusing laws, refining secret techniques, and also taking time to experiment with artifact refining. His comprehension and fusion of laws proceeded as steadily as ever, neither fast nor slow. The difficulty of fusing secret techniques made it hard to improve quickly, unless he went directly to the Elder God cult, where the improvement might be faster. However, in the primal universe, with the blessings of the Chaos Steel, Qin Hao's overall rate of improvement was still very rapid. As for secret techniques, the refinement progressed very quickly, with the time law and space law secret techniques already in their final stages. The secret techniques of time law and wind law and space law had also taken shape and were progressing smoothly. However, the secret technique for the fusion of 3 laws was still just an idea and had not yet been fully realized. The most successful progress was in artifact refining. With the first refining of the star chart, coupled with the soldier armor and general armor Qin Hao obtained in the garbage starfield, Qin Hao made significant improvements in artifact refining. It must be said that Zuo Shank was truly a master refiner. From the soldier armor and general armor, Qin Hao learned many refining techniques and incorporated them into his own artifact refining. Qin Hao is now capable of refining some excellent armor-type heavy treasures. Their defensive capabilities and power amplification are quite good, and the best piece is worn by Qin Hao himself, allowing him to unleash 7 million times the power of a world lord. This is more about a pure burst of power, unlike the star chart, which provides power amplification through the resonance between the star formation on the star chart and the internal world. In addition to armor, Qin Hao also refined many weapons. After keeping some for his own use, he exchanged all the rest for various refining materials through Primordial Chaos City Lord. Currently, the raw refining materials in Qin Hao's hands are enough to refine dozens of heavy treasures. However, for Qin Hao, the quantity was far from enough. The star chart corresponds to 365 stars, which means that to achieve maximum power, 365 star banners are needed. As of now, Qin Hao has only refined 3 star banners. Although the star banners are similar in style, the subtle differences are still very significant. They are not uniform products from an assembly line. Each star banner corresponds to a different star, requiring completely different materials. At the same time, it also requires materials of different attributes, and during refining, it needs to be nurtured with different laws and world power. The 3 star banners Qin Hao has refined so far correspond to the Sun, Taiyan, and Ziwei stars, which are also the first 3 stars Qin Hao visualized. The Sun star banner used a large amount of stellar cores, light attribute, fire attribute, and time attribute materials, and was nurtured and refined with law of light, time law, and law of fire. This was for the pole of the star banner. The banner face used a large number of precious metals and was engraved with numerous law patterns. When the star banner unfurled, the surrounding law of fire, time law, and law of light condensed, and as the banner face fluttered, a golden crow soared from its surface. Chapter 203, Sudden News and Departure. After 900 years in Primordial Chaos City, Qin Hao had also completed the full refinement of the star banner. The power unleashed by the 365 star banners, combined with the star chart, was so immense that even a typical venerable level expert entering it would be trapped and rendered helpless. In addition to the perfection of the star chart, Qin Hao had also made significant progress in his comprehension of laws. Regarding fusion laws, the 8 lower laws and their corresponding higher laws, as well as the fusion of wind law and space law, had all reached the peak of the 3rd layer, just a hair's breadth away from achieving venerable level law comprehension. At the same time, he had also made some progress in time law and space law. However, there was still a long way to go before achieving complete fusion in all 3 directions. The profundity of time law and space law far exceeded imagination. Taking that final step required not only talent, but also a certain degree of fortuitous encounter. In terms of secret techniques, the cultivation of secret techniques for various fusion laws also proceeded quite smoothly. However, the creation of ultimate techniques remained incomplete. Only a rudimentary form had been established for the wind law, time law, and space law ultimate techniques. Even with Primordial Chaos City Lord's guidance, the difficulty of fusing the 3 laws and coordinating the 3 fusion laws was too high, and Qin Hao was currently unable to achieve complete unity. The most direct manifestation was that he could unleash, but not retract, nor could he achieve precise control, which greatly affected the power of the unleashed ultimate techniques. Overall, Qin Hao was currently an absolute top-tier existence among the Undying, capable of even clashing head-on with some venerable-level experts. However, it would still take some time for him to break through to Undying or for his strength to fully reach the venerable level. During Primordial Chaos City Lord's guidance, he even pointed out that the power of Qin Hao's ultimate techniques needed to reach the level of a universe overlord or even a universe lord to potentially break through the core and become undying. Qin Hao was not in a hurry to break through. World Lord rank was, after all, the fastest stage for comprehending laws, and becoming undying might not necessarily be a good thing for him right now. What's more, a normal World Lord could live for 1,000 eras, and his genetic level had reached the perfect genetic level, granting him an even longer lifespan, so he had no fear of insufficient lifespan. Ancient One, what happened? Qin Hao looked at Ancient One, who had appeared before him, and asked. When Qin Hao cultivated, he almost completely shielded himself from all external information, fully immersing himself in cultivation. Most information would be directly ignored, and only after he finished cultivating would Ancient One organize the information and present it to Qin Hao. Now, with him still in cultivation and Ancient One appearing directly, it seemed there was a special event. Qin Ying has broken through to Domain Lord and is undertaking a top priority mission, but she's being targeted and might be in life-threatening danger, Ancient One quickly said, providing a detailed account of what happened after Qin Ying broke through to Domain Lord. Originally, Qin Ying came from the Ganwu Universe country, so she should have been dispatched to the Ganwu Universe country, and her highest mission would also take place within the Ganwu Universe country. If that were the case, Qin Ying would not have encountered any danger, as Ganwu Country Lord was her teacher. Furthermore, the Ganwu Universe country had undergone a cleansing, and Luo Feng had already been dispatched once, so there were basically very few problems remaining. As it turned out, after Qin Ying broke through to Domain Lord, she was actually dispatched to the Lanting Universe Kingdom. She was in unfamiliar territory, a completely strange environment. Upon arrival, she was immediately deceived by the Virtual Universe Corporation's 3 giants. Completely kept in the dark, she even received the Virtual Universe Corporation's top priority mission, which touched upon the interests of the 3 giants and might even expose them. The situation began to grow complicated, and Ancient One also discovered something amiss, which led him to awaken Qin Hao from his cultivation. As Qin Hao's intelligent assistant, Ancient One also had significant authority within the virtual universe, and Qin Hao had instructed him to constantly monitor any potential dangers Qin Ying might encounter. I didn't expect to escape these matters after all. It seems I'll have to make a trip to the Lanting Universe Kingdom, and I'll leave Primordial Chaos City directly for the outside territory battlefield then. After a brief thought, Qin Hao immediately made his decision. Leave the primal universe, head to the Lanting Universe Kingdom, resolve the matter, and then proceed directly to the outside territory battlefield. Since he had made his decision, he still needed to visit the City Lord's mansion first to bid farewell to his teacher, Primordial Chaos City Lord. Teacher, outside the Chaos Ruins, Qin Hao respectfully bowed. Junior brother, come in. Venerable Gui Yi pushed the door open and said to Qin Hao. Qin Hao quickly followed him into the Chaos Ruins. Are you preparing to leave the primal universe? Primordial Chaos City Lord spoke, and although it was a question, his tone was very certain. Yes, teacher, I have prepared to leave the primal universe and head to the outside territory battlefield. Very good. Only through life and death tempering can one break through and establish anew. If you want to break through quickly, the outside territory battlefield is the most suitable place, Primordial Chaos City Lord said, and at the same time, a token appeared before Qin Hao. You are not lacking in heavy treasures, so I will not bestow any more upon you. This token contains a trace of my soul power. As long as you crush it, I will know and come to save you, Primordial Chaos City Lord instructed. He still valued Qin Hao greatly. After all, experts above the venerable level were not allowed to enter the outside territory battlefield, but for the sake of his disciple, Primordial Chaos City Lord was prepared to take action. Thank you, teacher. Qin Hao took the token and said respectfully. Although the token was small, being able to summon Primordial Chaos City Lord at any time was an extremely powerful trump card. Coupled with the star chart's powerful enemy trapping ability, as long as a universe lord did not personally descend, Qin Hao was confident he could hold out until Primordial Chaos City Lord took action. Leaving the City Lord's mansion, Qin Hao did not return to his small courtyard, but directly boarded a spaceship and left the primal universe. Your Highness, this is Champion Feng Ying. Her god kingdom has coordinates in the Lanting Universe Kingdom, so we can immediately travel to the Lanting Universe Kingdom. Upon entering the virtual universe headquarters, a female expert approached the two, and King Tianyu quickly introduced her. "Greetings, Champion Fengying. Please immediately teleport us to the Lanting Universe Kingdom via your God Kingdom." Qin Hao did not stand on ceremony and said, Qin Hao greatly valued his sister. Now that she was in danger, he dared not delay too much. "Understood, Your Highness Qin Hao." Champion Fengying did not say much either. As a champion expert of the Virtual Universe Corporation, she was well aware of Qin Hao's strength and talent. This was also a good time to establish a connection, so she naturally did not refuse Qin Hao's request. The Lanting Universe Kingdom was a universe country located relatively on the outskirts of the human race territory. Even the fastest spaceship of the Virtual Universe Corporation would take 2 years to reach it. A second-tier spaceship would take 3 years. This was also why the Virtual Universe Corporation's Genius Battles assembly time was set at 3 years, precisely because distant cosmic countries like the Lanting Universe Kingdom were too far away. The God Kingdom's teleportation was extremely fast, and Qin Hao, King Tianyu, and Champion Fengying quickly appeared within the Lanting Universe Kingdom's borders. "This time, I've troubled Champion Fengying. King Tianyu, you and Champion Fengying can return together. After the matter here is concluded, I will proceed directly to the outside territory battlefield, so you don't need to follow me." After Qin Hao finished speaking, he bid farewell to the two, then directly took out a spaceship and took off. Chapter 204, Slaughter. Chapter 204, Slaughter. Why isn't he here yet? On Kingland Star, Qin Ying waited anxiously. She had been in the Lanting Universe Kingdom for some time now. Recently, she had also discovered many unusual things. The highest point mission issued by the Virtual Universe Corporation initially seemed very simple, but it unexpectedly involved so much. Now, she was trapped on Kingland Star and couldn't leave at all. Qin Hao had already spoken to Qin Ying before coming. Qin Ying had relaxed a lot, but recently, the 3 major giants of the Lanting Universe Kingdom's business department, military department, and financial department began to press harder, making Qin Ying anxious. Although Qin Ying had brought a guard army when she was dispatched, a guard army consisting of 1 undying, 10 world lords, 100 domain lords, and 1,000 universe rank members was still not enough in front of the 3 major giants. After all, the 3 major giants of every universe country were at least marquee-level immortal powerhouses. The undying in Qin Ying's guard team barely reached the level of an immortal army lord, so the strength gap was significant. Now they didn't dare to directly attack her, but they could use various means to force her to make a decision quickly. If she chose to make a passive decision, she might be able to escape her current predicament. However, this would be very detrimental to her future development in the Virtual Universe Corporation. She had also consulted Luo Feng and the others about being dispatched and understood what the so-called highest point mission represented. Has she not made a decision yet? Not yet. She's probably hesitating, as it concerns the highest point mission. HMPH, dispatched to the Lanting Universe Kingdom with no significant background. Let's pressure her more. Outside Kingland Star, the 3 major giants of the Lanting Universe Kingdom gathered on a spaceship, conversing. All 3 were very tense about the current situation. Having operated in the Lanting Universe Kingdom for so long, they didn't want any mistakes to occur. However, they never expected that a dispatched Domain Lord Inspector would catch them red-handed. They couldn't kill her, nor could they let her go. The 3 of them were now at a loss. Worst case, we find a scapegoat, pretend it's an alien assassination, and get rid of her completely. Let's wait a bit longer. After all, she's a genius from the highest beginning mythical region. If the corporation catches us, death would be a luxury for us. In the dark universe, Qin Hao stood on his spaceship, also feeling a bit anxious. He understood the complexity of the current situation from the information feedback from the virtual universe. The Virtual Universe Corporation's power gives it immense influence and a strong voice in any universe country. Precisely because of this, the administrators of each universe country control vast resources, and the corruption involved is extremely complex. As one of the outermost universe countries, the Lanting Universe Kingdom situation is also extremely complicated. The corruption behind these issues not only involves the three major giants, but also a complex web of relationships. However, these were not what Qin Hao needed to consider now. The most important thing was to ensure his sister's safety. As Qin Hao was thinking, the spaceship's speed rapidly decreased, and the surrounding environment began to change, returning to the universe. After flying for several more hours, a planet predominantly green and blue appeared in the nearby star-filled sky. This must be Kingland Star. The timing is just right. Looking at the relatively calm Kingland Star, Qin Hao breathed a sigh of relief. Although Kingland Star was completely controlled now, it also indicated that nothing too major had happened, and the three major giants of the Lanting Universe Kingdom had not yet officially made their move. An F-class spaceship has been detected. Should we intercept? When Qin Hao appeared, the direction of Kingland Star also detected the appearance of the spaceship, and the message quickly reached the three major giants. How can an F-class spaceship appear? F-class spaceships are generally the mounts of immortal expert powerhouses, and the F-class spaceship in front of them didn't seem so simple. Both its appearance and its demonstrated performance had reached the peak of F-class spaceships. Immediately issue a warning signal, cautioning the spaceship not to approach. Forward spaceship, please stop. This is territory belonging to the Virtual Universe Corporation, and a major event is currently being handled. Approaching will be considered a provocation. Listening to the voice from the spaceship, Qin Hao paid no attention. The spaceship hatch opened, and he stepped directly out of the spaceship, storing it in his world ring. A world lord. How can it be a world lord? No matter who it is, capture him immediately. Since he appeared here, he's just unlucky, and he makes a good scapegoat. The three giants exchanged glances and quickly made a decision. The appearance of a strange world lord could be conveniently identified as an assassin. As long as the assassin was killed, then whatever the situation, it would be up to them to say. After putting the spaceship into his world ring, Qin Hao had not yet left when beams of energy waves attacked him directly from a distance. At the same time, within the energy waves, there were also attacks of divine power and world power, directly engulfing Qin Hao's location. HMPH, they've become so audacious. It seems there's no need to let them remain, Qin Hao thought, but didn't counterattack directly. Instead, he instantly teleported from his original spot, appearing on Kingland Star at Qin Ying's location. Who is it? When Qin Hao appeared, he didn't hide his aura, and Qin Ying quickly noticed someone appearing beside her. Brother, you're finally here. After Qin Ying recognized Qin Hao, she quickly went to his side, holding his hand, and said happily, "All right, you're so grown up, thousands of years old, yet still so childish." Qin Hao ruffled Qin Ying's hair and said, his tone full of doting. He and Qin Ying hadn't met in reality for thousands of years. It had been 900 years in the primal universe and nearly 3,000 years in the primordial universe. "You've messed up my hair," Qin Ying said, starting to tidy her hair. Boom, boom, boom. Powerful explosions in the universe caused air currents to sweep across Kingland Star, and powerful sounds engulfed the entire planet. "What's happening outside? Did they make a move?" Qin Ying said, looking up at the sky, feeling the powerful energy exploding in the sky. "I'm sorry, brother, I shouldn't have dragged you into this," Qin Ying said apologetically. The powerful energy in the sky also surprised her. As a core member of the Virtual Universe Corporation, she had seen a lot, but facing three marquee-level immortals, she still felt no confidence. Her brother was a genius and had already become a world lord, but she didn't know how strong he actually was. Even knowing that world lords in the primitive mystical region were abnormal, with the strongest even having law comprehension comparable to marquee-level immortals and champions. However, even so, it was still difficult to truly defeat a marquee-level immortal. How long had her elder brother been a world lord? Even if he was very strong, it would be difficult to defeat a marquee-level immortal, right? Chapter 205. Judgment and the unexpected person feeling the powerful energy fluctuations outside Kingland Star, Qin Ying was filled with regret. She knew she would face three marquee-level immortals, yet she still let herself get involved. Don't worry, they're just a bunch of rabble. After I deal with them, you can go straight back to the highest beginning mythical region. I'll handle the Virtual Universe Corporation side of things, Qin Hao said with a reassuring look to Qin Ying, speaking casually. Qin Hao was a bit hesitant about how to deal with the people in front of him. Although he was a disciple of the primordial Chaos City Lord, he held no position within the company and was merely a world lord in the primitive mystical region. To deal with them, frankly, felt like overstepping his authority. However, once they started making their move, Qin Hao had no more reservations. At the same time, Qin Hao's mindset also underwent some changes. Ultimately, the hesitation stemmed from not being strong enough, not strong enough in power, not strong enough in influence. Thinking this, he no longer hesitated. Activating his permissions within the virtual universe, Qin Hao directly initiated judgment against the members of the Lanting Universe Kingdom's Virtual Universe Corporation in the current region. The virtual universe's powerful computing capabilities were rapidly mobilized. The deeds of everyone present and the laws they violated were all compiled and projected into the surrounding universe. I, on behalf of the Virtual Universe Corporation, declare that you are hereby sentenced to death. Qin Hao instantly appeared in the outer space of Devouring Star, facing the approaching spaceships directly, and declared. His voice, amplified by world power, reverberated throughout Devouring Star and within a range of tens of thousands of miles around it. HMPH Brat, representing the Virtual Universe Corporation. Who are you? Don't think that just because you have some tricks you can control us. As long as you die here today, nothing will have happened. Seeing the various crimes listed before them, everyone's hearts were in turmoil. Especially when Qin Hao declared that he represented the Virtual Universe Corporation and that they would be sentenced to death. The scene before their eyes changed, displaying a blood-red death sentence, making them realize that the person in front of them was not joking. World power rapidly spread, quickly enveloping the surrounding 10,000-mile area. Qin Hao's figure vanished from his original spot, and in just an instant, all cultivators below Undying in the vicinity were completely annihilated. Around Devouring Star, except for Qin Ying, the three magnates of the Lanting Universe Kingdom had replaced everyone with their own people. Qin Ying's original guard army was also ordered to be stationed on a barren planet tens of thousands of miles away. Who exactly are you? Including the remaining Undying and the three magnates of the Lanting Universe Kingdom, there were 13 people. Although they were all Undying, their current mood was incredibly tense. Annihilating tens of thousands of people in an instant, almost simultaneously, was a feat they found unbelievable. While it was simple for them to kill tens of thousands of people, a powerful burst of divine power could instantly annihilate them. However, to resolve tens of thousands of people as effortlessly and without any prior warning as Qin Hao did, was something they found very difficult to achieve. You can't kill us. We are high-ranking officials of the Virtual Universe Corporation in the Lanting Universe Kingdom. If something happens to us, the entire Virtual Universe Corporation's operations within the universe country will be paralyzed. Seeing Qin Hao completely ignore them, one person stepped forward and quickly spoke. You think too highly of yourselves. Without you, the Virtual Universe Corporation will not be affected in the slightest. Your replacements are already on their way and will soon take over from you. As he spoke, Qin Hao had already taken action, sealing the surrounding space and instantly appearing behind an Undying. With one thought creates world, a world instantly formed, trapping him within it and rapidly grinding away his divine body. After just 10 instantaneous movements, only 3 champion-level powerhouses remain to be dealt with. Only the 3 of you are left. If you have no other last words, then prepare to die, Qin Hao said, ready to act. For the current Qin Hao, dealing with 3 champion-level immortals was no pressure at all. Resolving them was not much different from resolving a few Undying. Hehe, I didn't expect you to actually show up. This time, I've finally earned my merit. As Qin Hao prepared to act, a cold voice echoed, and at the same time, the aura of one of the 3 magnates began to change. A violent aura directly threw the other 2 away, and his original human body began to transform, growing a pair of wings on his back. Monster race. Looking at the person in front of him, Qin Hao was not entirely certain. There was both a monster race aura and a human race aura, making it seem more like he had been modified. As he transformed, his aura also grew much stronger, stepping into the threshold of a champion. As his aura changed, his divine power also began to burn, and the surrounding space rapidly shifted as his divine kingdom quickly opened. Qin Hao watched everything before him, not rushing to stop it. Qin Ying's assignment to the Lanting Universe Kingdom was already a bit suspicious, and the timing, from when he received the news to when he arrived, was perfectly controlled. Furthermore, the gathering of undying powerhouses itself was highly abnormal. After all, for mere internal issues, at most, they would be imprisoned. It wouldn't escalate to a life-or-death struggle. Now it seemed that someone was indeed pushing this matter, and it was very likely a continuation of the Ganwu Universe Country incident. Haha, brat, I didn't expect to actually lure you out. That idiot Baikati actually made a move within the Ganwu Universe Country. He was truly seeking death. A sky wolf leaped out from the divine kingdom, quickly appearing before Qin Hao. When mentioning Baikati, his tone was filled with disdain. The Heavenly Wolf Clan, as a royal family among the monster race, with their strongest being a universe lord, were considered more noble than other monster race members and looked down upon them even more. Venerable. The moment the sky wolf appeared, Qin Hao had already assessed its strength. The star chart, carrying the star banner, instantly shot out from his body. The star chart rapidly unfurled, encompassing the surrounding tens of thousands of kilometers, and Qin Ying on Kingland Star was also taken into the Jianglan realm by Qin Hao. As the star chart unfolded, the star banners also quickly returned to their positions. The 365 star banners perfectly merged with the star chart, and the Zhu Tian star array was instantly set up. The surrounding time, space, and laws were also instantly dominated by the Zhu Tian star array. Heavy treasures, they're all heavy treasures. The sky wolf looked at the star chart and the star banners, its eyes flashing with greed. As a venerable, in his opinion, Qin Hao posed no threat. Even if he had some tricks, he would ultimately be quickly dealt with. What he hadn't expected was that the human world lord in front of him actually possessed such a number of heavy treasures. And these heavy treasures even formed a domain-type heavy treasure, whose power was comparable to even a supreme heavy treasure. Chapter 206, Battle Against the Venerable, 1 Chapter 206. Battling and exalt in the starry sky, Qin Hao stood at the center of the star chart, manipulating the great Zhu heavenly star's formation to envelop everything around him. At this moment, the surrounding time, space, and everything else seemed to be under his control. At this time, Qin Hao dared not show the slightest slack as he was facing an exalt. Even a low-tier exalt was in existence who had fully mastered a higher law. If he made any oversight, he might truly perish. Before coming to the Lanting Universe Kingdom, Qin Hao had already guessed that things might not be so simple. The current development of events was still within his expectations. With the star chart and the combined star banners, Qin Hao was very confident. The moment the Zhu Tian star array unfolded, the 365 worlds within Qin Hao's body began to vibrate, and the power of each world merged into its corresponding star banner. At the same time, the 365 star gods, whose prototypes had already formed in his sea of consciousness, each took their positions, controlling the star banners and fully unleashing the power of the entire Great Zhu Heavenly Stars formation. The moment the Great Zhu Heavenly Stars formation was fully unleashed, the three giants of the Lanting Universe Kingdom within the formation were swiftly swept away by the energy. Their divine bodies rapidly eroded, falling into slumber, and then quickly annihilated. As their divine bodies were annihilated, their souls were also completely extinguished by Qin Hao's powerful soul force. Howl, howl, howl. The heavenly wolf within the formation let out a roar, and powerful divine energy simultaneously erupted from his body, attacking the surrounding space and the stars above his head. As an exalt, Although he didn't understand formations, he knew that such a massive formation was extremely complex to control. As long as one part was completely destroyed, the formation could be broken. The Exalt's powerful energy erupted from his body, and a wolf's claw, completely condensed from divine power, directly grabbed at the nearest star. Under the raised claw, this star appeared extremely tiny, as if it could be crushed with just a little force. Bang! A violent collision sound rang out. The giant divine claw seemed to hit some barrier. The divine power was rapidly eroded, and the fingertips were completely ground away. However, it still couldn't touch the star in front of it, a barrier formed by time law and space law. The heavenly wolf looked at the situation before him, a hint of hesitation in his heart. Although it was just a simple strike, even a champion couldn't withstand it, yet it had caused no damage to the formation in front of him. In fact, he couldn't even see the figure of that young man from earlier. I still underestimated that young man. It seems Baikati's death was not in vain. The heavenly wolf became vigilant at this moment. The aura on his body rapidly condensed, and his body quickly swelled, transforming into a giant wolf thousands of kilometers tall in the blink of an eye. The interior of the entire Great Zhu Heavenly Star's formation also seemed a bit cramped at this moment. Qin Hao also clearly felt the pressure coming from within the Great Zhu Heavenly Star's formation, but this pressure was still within an acceptable range. After all, the complete Great Zhu Heavenly Star's formation could directly contend with the Pangu Phantom. The current Heavenly Wolf was just an exalt, and this incomplete formation could completely handle him. At the same time, Qin Hao also began to communicate with the entire Great Zhu Heavenly Star's formation. The star gods in his sea of consciousness began to perform their respective duties, controlling the operation of the entire formation. The stars within the formation began to move, and powerful energy began to condense. Stars, one after another, condensed from world power and the power of laws, began to form rapidly within the formation, descending from the sky and swiftly attacking the heavenly wolf. The power of these stars was relatively limited, but under the blessing of the Great Formation, each strike reached the peak king limit level, capable of injuring a low-tier exalt. The heavenly wolf's massive body at this moment became a disadvantage. The space within the Great Zhu Heavenly Star's formation became limited. He had no room to dodge. He could only choose to endure every attack from the surrounding stars. Subscribe for more amazing novel audiobooks. Don't forget to like, comment, and share Infinite Novel Audio. It's good for trapping enemies, but the offensive methods are still somewhat lacking. While attacking, Qin Hao summarized his combat experience with the Great Zhu Heavenly Star's formation. At the same time, Qin Hao began to activate a new attack mode. Above the mid-heaven, the Sun Star and the Taiyin Star shone brightly, and a stream of fire and a stream of water rapidly shot out from the two stars. The two streams of energy were like two meteors. As they approached the heavenly wolf, they did not directly attack him but collided, erupting with powerful energy. The collision of fire and water, chaotic law power, instantly swept the surroundings, and the power fluctuations at this moment broke through the exalt level. Such an attack was also an idea Qin Hao got while studying the fire god source crystal and water god source crystal. The fire god source crystal itself was extremely condensed fire attribute divine power, which finally produced immense power through the eruption of divine power, very similar to burning divine power. Qin Hao's attack, in addition to the extremely condensed law of fire and world power, also used the strong repulsion between water and fire attributes to further increase its power, raising it to the exalt level. However, this could only be achieved within the Great Zhu Heavenly Star's formation, using the formation's power to forcibly compress the power of laws and world power together. The sudden attack caught the heavenly wolf off guard. Although the attacks from the stars made him feel annoyed, the damage caused was very limited. However, that recent attack actually caused him to lose 0.2% of his divine body. This opponent was just a small world lord, yet he actually injured him. He was a great universe exalt, a powerful member of the monster race imperial family, and now he was actually injured by an ant. The anger in his heart erupted at this moment. The heavenly wolf's entire being became extremely ferocious. His divine power began to swell rapidly, powerful energy quickly spread, and the space law was fully mobilized at this moment. He wanted to kill the ant in front of him, tearing him into tiny pieces. Not good, he's going all out. Qin Hao felt immense pressure and dared not hesitate in the slightest. The space-time temple was released from his body. The moment the palace appeared, all of Qin Hao's power surged into the divine palace. The divine palace began to expand rapidly, and the surrounding time and space were quickly stabilized. Everything around was fixed at this instant. Even the heavenly wolf's powerful energy and complete space law were completely space-locked. Since Qin Hao left the ancestral god tomb, he had been constantly exploring the space-time temple. Now, he could only mobilize it. There was still some distance to fully unleash the power of the space-time temple. At least he had to reach the undying level. The difference between world power and undying divine power was still very great. With the heavenly wolf fixed in midair, Qin Hao dared not hesitate any longer. He took out the sealing star, which transformed into a giant star over 10,000 kilometers in size, sealing the heavenly wolf within it. He had originally wanted to contend with an exalt using the Zhu Tian star array, but it turned out he had overestimated himself. In the end, he had no choice but to expose the space-time temple and rely on the sealing star to seal the heavenly wolf. Chapter 207, Extraterritorial Battlefield, Chapter 207. Outside territory battlefield, feeling the heavenly wolf within the sealing star, Qin Hao breathed a slight sigh of relief. He had still underestimated the power of a universe exalt. Even if the heavenly wolf's strength was not considered strong among exalts, there was no way he could gain an advantage in a direct battle at his current level. It was only by using the star chart to control everything around him at the very beginning that he gained the opportunity to fight. If he had faced him directly, even with his full power, he would at most only be able to protect his life. Now, even within the Zhu Tian star array controlled by the star chart, it would be difficult to gain the upper hand against an exalt who completely controlled the space law. Qin Hao also had a clearer assessment of his own strength. For an ordinary exalt, a world lord with only 10 million times the power of a world lord could still contend with, or even defeat them. However, against a universe exalt with a high or even extreme genetic multiple, he could mostly only protect his life. Fortunately, Qin Hao did not give the sealing star to his first clone. Otherwise, to seal the heavenly wolf, he would have had to use the Jianglan realm, ultimately exposing that heavy treasure. However, while feeling lucky, Qin Hao also greatly envied the Ice Peak Lord, the master of his first clone. The reason Qin Hao did not give away the sealing star was that the Ice Peak Lord had directly prepared 360 sealing stars for his first clone, Kong Chuan, and also bestowed a heavy treasure-level armor upon him. Compared to Kong Chuan, almost all of Qin Hao's equipment was pieced together by himself. After trapping the heavenly wolf in the sealing star, Qin Hao also released Qin Ying from the Jianglan realm and flew with her towards the guard army's station, 10,000 miles away. "Brother, what just happened? Why is there nothing left in this area of Kinglan Star?" Qin Ying asked curiously, looking at the desolate landscape, the completely vanished Kinglan Star and the surrounding stars. "Nothing. You'll meet up with your guard army in a moment. My senior brother will arrive shortly and take you to the Virtual Universe Company headquarters. You can then go directly to Primordial Chaos City to cultivate," Qin Hao said, quickly arriving at the location of Qin Ying's guard army with Qin Ying. "Your Highness, my lord." Everyone in the guard team saluted respectfully. They had clearly witnessed the recent battle. The young man before them possessed strength far beyond their imagination. His immense power instantly killed various strong individuals, and in the end, he even trapped a super-strong individual. Even the strongest undying among them could not achieve this. "All right, organize yourselves. We'll be leaving soon," Qin Ying told the captain of the guard team. Standing beside Qin Hao, she curiously observed her brother. She was also very curious about the senior brother her brother mentioned. She knew her brother had a powerful master, but she didn't know who it was specifically. All right, stop looking. Here are some resources for you, as well as some of my insights into the laws. Cultivate well in primordial chaos city, Qin Hao instructed. Since she had embarked on the path of cultivation and possessed some talent, Qin Hao still had certain expectations for his sister. An hour later, a figure suddenly appeared on the planet. Second senior brother. Seeing the person who appeared, Qin Hao quickly went to greet him. Thank you for making the trip. If possible, I hope to make many more trips. You really caught a heavenly wolf clan exalt. Those wolf cubs are not easy to deal with, Venerable Gui Yi said with a laugh. At this moment, Qin Hao also took out the sealing star. Inside the sealing star, the heavenly wolf was still roaring and attacking it. However, as a heavy treasure refined by Zuo Shank, and a component of the Divine King's Supreme Treasure Star Tower, the sealing effect and durability were not so easily broken. It really is a wolf cub from the Heavenly Wolf clan. Let him out, Venerable Gui Yi said. Qin Hao didn't ask why. The sealing star quickly enlarged, and the heavenly wolf was directly released from it. You hateful brat, you're dead. After the heavenly wolf appeared, it let out a roar, preparing to attack Qin Hao. However, before it could launch its attack, it saw the figure beside Qin Hao, and its body involuntarily paused, wanting to flee. As the second disciple of the primordial Chaos City Lord, Venerable Gui Yi's power had been proven through countless life-and-death battles. He became his disciple before the primordial Chaos City Lord became a universe lord, and had even met the Origin ancestor in those days, witnessing the power of humanity under the Origin ancestor. Venerable Gui Yi was not only senior in rank, but also more powerful, ranking among the foremost human exalts. His appearance was naturally well known to other races, and when he appeared here, the heavenly wolf's first thought was to quickly leave. However, Venerable Gui Yi clearly gave it no chance. He instantly appeared beside the heavenly wolf, releasing his divine power. A huge divine power sphere enveloped the heavenly wolf, rapidly contracting until it became the size of a football, floating behind Venerable Gui Yi. Although it wasn't the first time he had witnessed Venerable Gui Yi make a move, Qin Hao was still greatly surprised. This was a peak-level exalt who had completely comprehended one higher law and was close to perfecting another higher law. After taking over the heavenly wolf, Venerable Gui Yi directly left with Qin Ying and her guard team. Every exalt was an extremely important resource for any race, and also the strongest combat power that could be resurrected. Generally, if an exalt was truly outmatched, they would largely choose to self-destruct. Qin Hao was lucky this time, the timing was fortunate, and the heavenly wolf also harbored a glimmer of hope. However, Venerable Gui Yi's appearance shattered its last shred of hope. After everyone left, Qin Hao no longer lingered. He directly took out his spaceship and quickly headed towards the outside territory battlefield. The outside territory battlefield Qin Hao was heading to this time was the 7th battlefield. The entire outside territory battlefield has 11 battlefields, each gathering a large number of strong individuals from various races. From universe rank to powerful king-level immortals, all fought on these 11 battlefields. Every day, countless lives perished, and a large number of lives entered the various battlefields. Battles and hunts between undying, hunts between small teams, and hunts between armies were the main theme of all battlefields. Qin Hao chose the 7th battlefield not only because it was mentioned in the original work, but also because he planned to go to the area where the Star Tower was located. Not to recognize it as his master, nor to attract Zuo Shank's attention, but to observe the Star Tower. While collecting some sealing stars, he also wanted to observe Zuo Shank's refining techniques. A Divine King Supreme Treasure is a top-tier existence in the entire swallowed star world. This was also the strongest heavy treasure Qin Hao could observe, and no matter how much he could learn from it, it would greatly advance his improvement in refining. It also allowed him to observe Zuo Shank's refining techniques. A Divine King Supreme Treasure is a top-tier existence in the entire swallowed star world. This was also the strongest heavy treasure Kinhao could observe, and no matter how much he could learn from it, it would greatly advance his improvement in refining. Chapter 208, Realm Master Warrior. Chapter 208, Universe Master War General. Outside the outside territory battlefield barracks, a large number of personnel gathered. Strong individuals from Universe rank, Territory Lord rank, to World Lord rank continuously entered the barracks. As a new recruit camp, a large number of personnel join the ranks of the outside territory battlefield every day. Most of them are cultivators from various universe countries, with a few members from various human race forces mixed in. Kinhao is one of them. However, at this time, Kinhao's appearance and soul aura had already changed, and even his identity information was completely altered, making him a lone cultivator. The information for this identity was also very detailed, from his birth, cultivation experiences, to his growth journey. All of it was very realistic. Even searching for people associated with this identity would not reveal any discrepancies. This is the outside territory battlefield. The aura is indeed very fierce. Following the team forward, Kinhao could also feel the different aura on the outside territory battlefield. Although it was just a new recruit camp, one could still feel the killing intent of the battlefield. The outside territory battlefield is not only a battlefield for fighting foreign races, but also a place of opportunity for many cultivators. Whether it's the massive resources invested by the human race or the military merit exchange system, these are rare opportunities for most cultivators. It is precisely for this reason that cultivators from various universe countries are attracted to join the outside territory battlefield. Among these people, besides those seeking experience and resources, there are also many cultivators who have been stuck at various realms for countless years with almost no hope of breakthrough, coming here to seek to break through their shackles through life and death trials. Another batch of newcomers has arrived. I wonder if there are any strong individuals among them. It's been a long time since a decent world lord appeared. Unlike Kinhao and the other new recruits waiting for their strength certification, many veterans in the new recruit camp casually observed the newcomers entering the military camp, preparing to select new members to join their teams. The death rate on the outside territory battlefield is extremely high. People fall almost every moment, leading to many teams having personnel shortages. At this time, the new recruit camp becomes their place for selecting members. World Lords are their target group. Upon entering the outside territory battlefield, a universe rank is just a small soldier, and a territory lord rank is only a squad leader with no opportunity to act alone. Only World Lords and above can choose to act alone, though most World Lords also choose to join the army. Every World Lord entering the outside territory battlefield undergoes an authorization ceremony, where they are ranked based on their past performance in the virtual universe. The ranking is divided into 3 levels. First, Ordinary World Lord Warrior. Second, Elite Universe Master Warrior. And third, Universe Master War General. Most World Lords are Ordinary World Lord Warriors. Those who can gain the recognition of the origin laws are barely considered Elite Universe Master Warriors. Generally, one Universe Master War General emerges from 100 Elite Universe Master Warriors. Among World Lord new recruits, 30% are Elite Universe Master Warriors and 0.3% are Universe Master War Generals. At the same time, the ranking is also linked to military merit quotas. An ordinary World Lord Warrior typically has military merit between 1 million and 10 million. An elite Universe Master Warrior between 10 million and 100 million, and a Universe Master War General between 100 million and 1 billion. This is directly tied to their strength. To regain freedom, one must complete their military merit. The military merit on the outside territory battlefield is also related to hunting. Generally, killing an ordinary World Lord Warrior alone grants 100,000 military merit, an Elite Universe Master Warrior 1 million, and a Universe Master War General 10 million. This means that to achieve freedom, One must kill at least 10 opponents of comparable strength, and they must be killed alone. The team moved forward quickly, and authorization grants and strength evaluations were rapidly underway. Most were just ordinary World Lord warriors, who, without a team to receive them, chose to directly enter the army. Furthermore, most ordinary World Lord warriors also chose to join the army, as it offered some relative safety guarantees. We've had over 1,000 World Lord warriors in a row. Why hasn't a Universe Master War General appeared yet? Yeah, the quality of this batch of new recruits is a bit poor. There's no choice. Personnel are always in short supply. Finding a Universe Master War General is all about luck. There are still a few batches left. Let's see. If we can't replenish our personnel, we'll take a break for a while. The various squads gathered at the new recruit camp were also somewhat anxious. With a shortage of personnel, they had to reduce their actions. Rash actions would only put their squad in danger. No one who survived on the outside territory battlefield was not cautious. "Captain, hurry. There's a seat here." Before the person arrived, a clear voice had already come out. Then, a young girl in azure armor quickly walked to a seat and sat down. After the girl sat down, an ape-human woman in deep red armor also walked over. Although she was a woman, she exuded a fierce aura, looking very muscular and full of power. Even without knowing her, one could feel her violent energy. How come Kuang Yan's squad is here too? They shouldn't be short on personnel. Your news is outdated. I heard they encountered a champion-level squad. Although they escaped, all members suffered serious injuries and one member died. Hiss, hiss, hiss. They actually encountered a champion-level squad. How unlucky. The Kuang Yan squad captain's strength should be at the peak of Immortal Army Lord. Ordinary squads are no match for them at all. Indeed, they are already one of the strongest squads in this area. I heard the captain is about to break through to champion. Even a small difference can be huge. HMPH, hearing the conversations around her, the woman in deep red armor snorted coldly, and a wave of heat spread out, sweeping the surroundings. Everyone felt the temperature rise and quickly stopped talking, not daring to make another sound. Seeing the reactions of those around her, the girl in azure smiled lightly and turned her attention to the World Lords entering the new recruit camp. "Captain, look at that person. He doesn't look nervous at all. His strength must be good. How about we choose him later?" The girl in azure looked at the World Lords entering the new recruit camp and set her gaze on Qin Hao, who was queuing. Qin Hao felt a gaze directed at him, turned around, and met the girl who was pointing at him. He didn't pay too much attention. Instead, he looked at the woman beside her, who was wearing deep red armor and exuded a powerful aura. She was a champion. And she was an ape-human champion, with some similarities to Zhan Yan King. She should be an undying of Zhan Yan King's clan. "You are about to undergo authorization and evaluation. If you have any trump cards you haven't displayed in the virtual universe, quickly go and use them." A voice pulled Qin Hao's attention back. Chapter 209, The Blazing Flame Squad, Chapter 209, Kuang Yan Squad Universe Master Warrior. Universe Master Warrior. Universe Master Warrior. Elite Universe Master Warrior. After more than a dozen Universe Master Warriors, the appearance of an elite Universe Master Warrior attracted the attention of many squads. Most elite Universe Master Warriors are World Lords who have already gained recognition from the origin laws, and their strength is also considerable. When added to a squad, they can become a good fighting force after some time, at least not dragging the team down. Soon, several squads gathered around. "Captain, aren't we going up?" "An elite Universe Master Warrior is already quite good," the young woman in green asked softly. After recovering from her last injury, the squad had spent a large amount of military achievements, and their resources were running low. If they didn't take on more missions, their cultivation resources would decrease. What our squad lacks is a Universe Master War General. Without the strength of a Universe Master War General, even if they join our squad, they will only become a burden, the ape woman said. She was also unsure if they would encounter a Universe Master War General, although the proportion of Universe Master War Generals is around 0.3%. Encountering one always depends on luck. Sometimes, even in an entire batch, there might not be a single Universe Master War General, Universe Master Warrior, Universe Master Warrior, Universe Master Warrior. Again, a large number of ordinary Universe Master Warriors appeared consecutively, with very few elite Universe Master Warriors. This greatly disappointed all the squads present, and many even chose to leave. It should be known that, while Universe Master War Generals are rare in each batch, there are usually quite a few elite Universe Masters. However, in today's batch, the number of elite Universe Masters was so scarce that their overall quality left them with no hope. The line quickly moved forward, and Qin Hao had already reached the very front. Universe Master War General, as the sound fell, Qin Hao's authority changed, and he was also marked with the authority of a Universe Master War General. Captain, it's that person. I didn't expect him to actually be a Universe Master War General. Isn't my judgment of people accurate? Isn't it accurate? The young woman in green jumped up directly, pulling the ape woman's arm beside her, and said excitedly, as if she had discovered a great treasure. Captain, Captain, where are you going? While the young woman in green was still excited, she felt the arm in her hand disappear. The ape woman had already stood up and walked in Qin Hao's direction. The young woman in green quickly followed. At this moment, many members from various squads had also gathered around Qin Hao, including even several Undying-level beings. After all, a Universe Master War General is considered a core figure in a squad, worth an Undying making an effort to recruit. Hello, I am the captain of the Giant Earth Squad. I invite you to join our squad. Old Earth, is your squad strong enough? Don't hold him back. Who said I'm not strong enough? How about we go outside and fight, see who's stronger, and then the young man can join whose squad? The battle between two Undying for a recruit caused some world lords nearby to involuntarily step back. Many of their squads were also very strong, but they were still only world lords, making it difficult to compete against two Undying. Don't block the way. Just as the two Undying were truly red-faced, a voice came, with a hint of coldness. As the voice arrived, two hands were placed on the shoulders of the two Undying respectively, and with force, the two Undying were directly flung aside. Who is so bold as to dare attack me? The two Undying who were thrown off no longer argued at this moment. They quickly got up and looked around. When the ape woman saw them, her eyes flashed with fire, and she looked at the two, instantly extinguishing their arrogance. Hello, I am Flame Dance, the captain of the Kuangyan squad. I now invite you to join our squad, Flame Dance said, staring at Qin Hao. Hello, I'm Phoenix Splendor. The young woman in green greeted Qin Hao familiarly. Qin Hao looked at the two women in front of him, and at the same time, his gaze swept over the other people in the hall, without much thought. All right, Qin Hao agreed. For him, the training in the outside territory battlefield was not difficult. However, in the early stage, he still needed to join a team to first complete his military achievement quota before he could act alone. As a Universe Master War General, Qin Hao's military achievement quota was directly set to the highest limit of 1 billion. If it was only about killing world lords, even a Universe Master War General would need to kill over 100. For Undying, about 10 would suffice. However, this was more about luck. After all, ordinary Undying would not venture too deep into the outside territory battlefield, and most of those encountered would be beings of the same level, so the probability of encountering them was not very high. That's great. Welcome to our squad. We can finally take on missions again. The young woman in green, Phoenix Splendor, said happily. Qin Hao looked at the young woman in front of him, feeling a bit surprised. He didn't expect someone who looked so harmless to be so enthusiastic about missions. This was the outside territory battlefield, where every mission was a battle, and every outing was a dance on the edge of life and death. Let's go back and prepare now, will we? The ape woman stopped speaking. What's your name? Tian Hao. Qin Hao looked at the ape woman, Flame Dance, and Phoenix Splendor, feeling a bit speechless. He didn't know if joining this squad was the right choice. Both the captain and the members seemed a little unusual. All right, Tian Hao, let's go back and I'll introduce you to the other members. We'll start missions directly tomorrow, Flame Dance said, and her whole being seemed to get excited. Her flame divine power involuntarily emanated, and the surrounding temperature rapidly increased. After Phoenix Splendor felt Flame Dance's excitement, she quickly retreated over 100 meters. As for the surging heat wave, Qin Hao showed no reaction, his world power directly annihilating the flame divine power rushing towards him. So strong, he's actually unaffected by the captain. Phoenix Splendor looked at Qin Hao's performance and became even more convinced of his strength. There are also strengths and weaknesses among Universe Master War Generals. Now, this newcomer is actually unaffected by the captain. Flame Dance is an undying, and she is also a strong one among Immortal Army Lords. Most ordinary undying who encounter Flame Dance basically have no chance of survival. The aura she casually emitted was not something a World Lord could easily handle. Flame Dance quickly realized her divine power leakage and rapidly reined it in, while also looking at Qin Hao, sizing him up. She had realized the moment her divine power leaked. She was originally very worried about whether Qin Hao would be affected. But she didn't expect that the result was her own divine power being annihilated. A World Lord simply annihilating the divine power of an undying is more difficult than imagined. A World Lord being able to contend against an undying is something only those core geniuses among the peak human races can achieve. Chapter 210, Weird Team Members. After leaving the rookie camp, Flame Dance immediately took out her spaceship. An F-class spaceship was already an extremely high-grade vessel for many immortal-level powerhouses. One must know that Hu Yanbo, who possessed Marquis-level immortal strength, only had an E-class peak spaceship. On the outside territory battlefield, most undying powerhouses' spaceships were only E-class, with only the core cabin being F-class. Flame Dance taking out an F-class spaceship also showed her own strength and deep financial resources. However, Qin Hao believed more in the team members' madness when it came to missions. After all, the source of wealth on the outside territory battlefield was mostly from military merit exchange. Being able to exchange for an F-class spaceship was a huge fortune, and only true powerhouses who completed a large number of missions could accumulate it. The spaceship left the rookie camp and quickly arrived at a base. After entering the base, the spaceship landed. "Let's go, our stronghold is just ahead. Let's meet the team members, get to know each other, and prepare to act tomorrow," Flame Dance said, striding forward decisively. "The captain's temper is just like that. You'll get used to it later." Phoenix Splendor came to Qin Hao's side and whispered. At this moment, Flame Dance turned and glanced at Phoenix Splendor, who quickly shut her mouth and gave Flame Dance an embarrassed smile. Looking at the divine base they entered, Qin Hao also understood that this was the gathering area for divine teams in each region. Most of them were divine teams below the champion level, with a small number being champion and king-level powerhouses who could act alone on the outside territory battlefield. Led by Flame Dance, Qin Hao and the others quickly arrived at courtyard. Entering the courtyard, which was about 1 kilometer in area, there were several small buildings and a main building in the center. "Everyone, gather." Upon entering the small courtyard, Flame Dance shouted directly, her divine power fluctuations amplifying her voice, spreading throughout the entire courtyard. The doors of the 4 small buildings in the courtyard opened, and 3 god ancestors walked out from the small buildings, heading towards Flame Dance. "Captain, did you recruit a new person?" The burly man who came out first asked in a booming voice, very concerned about Flame Dance's harvest this time. "Brother Earth Distance, didn't you see someone following behind the captain? You must be the new team member, right?" The young man who came out of the eastern small building said to the burly man, then looked at Qin Hao. "Hello, I'm Gold Bright, welcome to join us." After Gold Bright finished speaking, he came to Qin Hao's side and said in a friendly manner, "Qin Hao, I'm Qin Hao, I just joined the team." Qin Hao replied politely. When the 3 god ancestors appeared, Qin Hao was also sizing them up. He already had some understanding of Flame Dance and Phoenix Splendor. His powerful soul allowed him to make strong judgments about people. The aura of these 3 god ancestors was also very pure, more like pure cultivators. However, there was also a hidden surge of crazy battle intent in them. It seemed they had engaged in many battles in the past, much like a group of berserkers. I am the vice captain, Earth Distance, welcome to join us. At this moment, the burly man Earth Distance also walked over and said to Qin Hao. Although he looked very honest, Qin Hao did not underestimate Earth Distance in the slightest. Qin Hao didn't expect Earth Distance to also be an Undying, though his strength should have just reached the Undying Army Lord level. However, a team with 2 Undying Army Lords was considered elite among all divine teams. No wonder they could survive an encounter with a marquee-level immortal powerhouse. Hello, Brother Earth Distance, Qin Hao replied gently. Hello, I'm Wood Hero, the support in the team and also the weakest in the team. I hope you'll take good care of me in the future. The last woman who came out also came before Qin Hao and said to him. Although Wood Hero said she was the weakest, Qin Hao felt a different aura from her. Moreover, when the other team members heard Wood Hero say she was the weakest, they couldn't help but roll their eyes. Wood Hero's aura was primarily based on Law of Wood, but it was different from the life aura of most orthodox Law of Wood cultivators. The life aura on Wood Hero had a strange feeling, a desire to devour something. There was a destructive force within her life. What a group of eccentric teammates, Qin Hao couldn't help but think. From the captain to the team members, everyone had a unique feeling, each with their own little secrets, yet they got along very harmoniously. Their actual strength was also much stronger than what they showed, and each of them was also a battle-hungry individual. Since he came in, everyone's main concern was whether the new person had arrived. This was not just welcoming the new person, but more about being able to continue the mission once the new person arrived. All right, you've met everyone. I'll first introduce you to the team's situation. I, Flame Dance, Undying Army Lord, specialize in Law of Fire and have comprehended part of Space Law. Earth Distance, the team's vice captain and also a powerful backing, specializes in Earth Law and has also comprehended Space Law, but he leans more towards defense. Phoenix Splendor, Universe Master War General, specializes in Wind Law, the team's long-range attacker, and uses a bow and arrow as her weapon. Gold Bright, Universe Master War General, specializes in Law of Metal, has comprehended Space Law and can unleash Undying-level power at his limit. Wood Hero, Universe Master War General, specializes in Law of Wood, the team's support, but don't easily offend her, otherwise she will make you feel like you're in heaven and hell. Flame Dance introduced the situation of each team member one by one, finally turning her gaze to Qin Hao, her meaning very clear, asking Qin Hao to introduce his own strength. Tian Hao, Universe Master War General, specializes in Wind Law and has comprehended part of Time Law. Qin Hao briefly introduced his situation, choosing to display Wind Law and Time Law as his comprehended laws. During this period, Qin Hao focused more on cultivating the fusion of Wind Law, Time Law, and Space Law. So after consideration, Qin Hao chose to display Wind Law and Time Law as his external laws. Currently, Qin Hao has fully comprehended Wind Law and has fully comprehended 3 directions of Time Law. Just by comprehending these 2 major laws, he has already reached the king level. However, only Qin Hao himself knew these things. After hearing Qin Hao's introduction, the team members mostly compared Qin Hao's strength with Gold Bright's. Both are World Lord rank and both have comprehended higher laws, making them powerful existences among World Lord rank. Upon becoming Undying, they would become powerhouses among the Undying. When Gold Bright heard that Qin Hao had comprehended Time Law, a deeper meaning appeared in his eyes. As a core member of the human race's 5 great powers, he was also aware that many who could comprehend higher laws at the World Lord rank came from various major powers. I didn't expect our team to hit the jackpot this time. Tonight we feast and tomorrow we depart, Flame Dance said happily. Chapter 211, Departure. Chapter 211, Departure. In the early morning, Qin Hao walked out of his small building. The team gathering had given him a clearer understanding of the entire team. Before the gathering, there was still some concealment, but after the gathering, especially after drinking, everyone's true nature was more or less revealed. Even Earth Distance, who seemed very honest, completely changed after drinking. He became passionate, as if burning with enthusiasm. The other few people, one by one, were like those on Earth who had a clear understanding, filled with passion for battle and longing for the upcoming action. However, Qin Hao also realized that the team had existed for a long time, and its core members had not changed much. This team was also one of the teams with the longest surviving members in the entire base. This time, a member only fell because they encountered a marquee-level immortal. As Qin Hao walked out of his small building, Flame Dance also emerged from the main building. After glancing at Qin Hao, Flame Dance went directly to the center of the courtyard. "Let's go." Her voice vibrated throughout the courtyard, and the other team members quickly appeared, their faces filled with excitement. After the group left the camp, they boarded a spaceship, which rapidly accelerated and entered the dark universe. After a few hours of travel, its speed decreased, and it exited the dark universe, revealing the surrounding cosmic environment. This is the Broken Star starfield of the Outside Territory battlefield. This entire starfield is almost entirely composed of various star fragments, making the environment extremely complex, Flame Dance said, beginning to introduce the situation of the surrounding Broken Star starfield. She was mainly explaining it to Qin Hao, as the others had been to the Broken Star starfield many times before. Upon entering the Broken Star starfield, the spaceship's explorer was immediately activated. While collecting surrounding signals, it also masked its own presence. The Outside Territory battlefield was full of dangers. Even an immortal expert could fall at any moment. The spaceship continuously advanced through the Broken Star starfield, weaving among the star fragments. An F-class spaceship could still move freely in such a starfield. Even if it encountered various star fragments, they would be directly cut through by the spaceship. Qin Hao observed the surrounding stars, his eyes full of curiosity. There were shattered stars everywhere, and even fragments formed after many stars had been destroyed. From this, one could see the intensity of the battles on the Outside Territory battlefield. Almost all stars had been completely destroyed, turning into fragments. Some fragments even retained traces of tragic law of fire and divine power, which had not completely dissipated. "Everyone, be ready for battle at all times," Flame Dance instructed after entering the Broken Star starfield while intently watching the explorer's screen. Her divine power also began to explore the surroundings. Although the machine was very sensitive, as an immortal expert, she was also very confident in herself. After all, everyone on the Outside Territory battlefield used every means possible. Hiding in a world ring, waiting for enemies, such tactics, and even more concealed ones, were not uncommon. The spaceship traveled through the Broken Star starfield for 10 days without any enemies appearing. The entire team gradually adapted to the high-intensity state, remaining vigilant and ready to enter battle at any moment. This situation made Qin Hao look at the entire team with new respect. Maintaining such a strong fighting spirit in the absence of battle, and for such a long time, was extremely difficult for many. Even Qin Hao would find it hard to do. Most of the time, Qin Hao's state of mind remained in an extremely calm state, with a sense of detachment. This state of mind arose partly from Qin Hao's identity as a transmigrator, and partly from the after-effects of his cultivation of one Kai transforms into 3 pure ones. One Kai transforms into 3 pure ones granted Qin Hao 3 clones, but it also integrated some of the abilities of cutting the corpse. Each time a clone was formed, Qin Hao's emotions and state of mind would undergo certain changes. He would be less affected by emotions, and at the same time, his perception and comprehension of laws would further improve. After the 3 clones were fully nurtured, Qin Hao's state of mind seemed to have reached a sense of completeness. He would not be affected by the outside world, his control over emotions became stronger, and his perception and comprehension of laws further improved. It was precisely because of this that Qin Hao's cultivation in fusion laws accelerated significantly, allowing him to master the fusion of various laws in a short period. Subscribe for more amazing novel audiobooks. Don't forget to like, comment, and share Infinite Novel Audio. It was also this detached state of mind that made Qin Hao's fighting spirit ignite only when facing powerful opponents. while maintaining vigilance. Qin Hao observed the surrounding star fragments, sensing the traces left by battles, and continuously deduced the course of the engagements in his mind. It was as if countless powerful individuals were constantly fighting each other in the surroundings, although most were just world lords or ordinary undying, watching scene after scene of battles. Qin Hao felt as if he could see through time and space. "Everyone prepare, we have prey." Flame Dance's voice rang out, and smiles appeared on everyone's faces. Their hands, holding weapons, involuntarily tightened. Qin Hao also tightened his grip on his longsword, anticipating his first batch of enemies. Although very few individuals on the entire outside territory battlefield could truly threaten him, Qin Hao still took the encounters on the outside territory battlefield very seriously. What he valued was not just the process of battle, but also the process of understanding each battle and each individual. After the spaceship continued to travel for a while, Flame Dance put it away. Both sides of the battle had immortal-level beings, and the power unleashed would cause some damage even to an F-class spaceship. Storing the spaceship was also to avoid certain losses. The moment the spaceship was put away, Flame Dance's divine power enveloped everyone, and her speed increased to the maximum as she flew directly forward. Soon, a spaceship appeared before Qin Hao and the others, traveling rapidly. As it approached Qin Hao and his group, Flame Dance's divine power condensed, and a fiery phoenix quickly formed. After a cry, the phoenix spread its wings, reaching its maximum speed and flew rapidly towards the spaceship. Qin Hao observed Flame Dance's secret technique. Within the law of fire, there were traces of space law. The combination of speed and explosive power meant that the secret technique's unleashed power had reached the peak of an immortal army lord. Even an existence of the same rank would find it difficult to protect itself against this move. The fiery phoenix instantly flew in front of the spaceship, and with a sweep of its fiery wings, powerful fiery divine power erupted completely. Boom! A huge explosion sounded, and fragments of the spaceship scattered. At the same time, a blue water elemental divine power rushed out from the fragments. Chapter 212, First Battle. Chapter 212, First Battle. Blue water law divine power pierced through the spaceship debris, and the scorching fire law divine power, quickly rushing out, and the enemy's figures also appeared. A giant Gyalong and a monster race squad composed of several giant snakes. From the spaceship's explosion to the enemy's breakthrough, it was but an instant, and in that instant, everyone in the Kuang Yan squad moved swiftly. Flame Dance's great axe ignited, as if it were a great axe made of lava, striking directly at the Gyalong. Go to Taiwan for good books. Super Complete Fire Divine Power and Water Law Divine Power continuously collided, striking directly at the Gyalong's body. The Gyalong, hundreds of miles long, was instantly sent flying, its scales shattered. At the same time, the powerful force that erupted scattered the other giant pythons of the monster race squad, sending them flying in various directions. Earth Distance, Gold Bright, and Qin Hao quickly moved, attacking the nearest enemies. Phoenix Splendor drew her longbow world power condensed to the extreme on the arrow, and Wind Law enveloped the arrow. Upon release, its speed reached its peak, striking at an enemy. Qin Hao faced his opponent, a giant python tens of kilometers long, with cultivation at the peak of World Lord and a strong aura of water law. The python was still in a state of confusion after being scattered. The moment it saw Qin Hao appear, its wild nature was unleashed, and it opened its bloody maw, swallowing towards Qin Hao. Qin Hao remained unhurried, his figure seemingly turning into a gentle breeze. He moved swiftly, and before the attack arrived, he was already behind the giant python. He swung the longsword in his hand, and streaks of wind blades formed a massive windstorm, directly engulfing the giant python within the wind blades. Under the rapid rotation of the windstorm, the wind blades continuously attacked the giant python's body, shattering its scales piece by piece. After its scales were completely broken, the wind blades continued to spin rapidly. Ah, 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 screams of agony emanated from the giant python's mouth, While screaming, the giant python also recovered from its confusion. However, by this time, the surrounding wind blades had completely trapped it, making it extremely difficult to break free. Its world power and water law condensed, forming a current of water that enveloped itself, attempting to defend against the wind blades. Water has extreme resilience and is also highly applicable in defense. However, in front of Qin Hao's wind blades, it had no resistance whatsoever. In just an instant, it was directly breached. Before the giant python could react, its flesh and blood were rapidly stripped away, turning into nothingness. Finally, the world within its body was also directly destroyed, and the giant python perished. Qin Hao, keep it up. Qin Hao's defeat of his opponent also drew the attention of his teammates. By this time, Earth Distance had also dealt with his opponent, and Gold Bright was pressing his opponent hard. Flame Dance on the distant battlefield had completely suppressed Gyaralong the Immortal. The remaining giant pythons were now watching the situation with great tension. Summon wind and rain. A mighty roar erupted from Gyaralong the Immortal's mouth, followed by a surge of divine power. This divine power quickly transformed into a powerful wind and rain, instantly sweeping across tens of thousands of miles. The moment the rain curtain formed, the entire battlefield seemed to become his domain. His previously somewhat weakened state rapidly recovered, and his aura seemed to strengthen considerably. At the same time, the giant pythons within the rain curtain also seemed to be empowered, their auras boosted, and they became full of fighting spirit. Wind law, water law, a domain, and even some applications in soul attacks. It's more like a domain skill, an inspire aura or empower aura from games, Qin Hao murmured as he felt the surrounding wind and rain. The moment the wind and rain appeared, Qin Hao could feel that his side seemed to be under more pressure, while the opponents became even stronger, and their adaptability to the battlefield changed. After Gyaralong the Immortal unleashed his secret technique, he became much more arrogant, directly attacking Flame Dance. However, the gap in strength was far from something that could be compensated for by such a move. Flame Dance unleashed her powerful divine power. The fire law divine power rapidly evaporated the surrounding rainwater, as if she had transformed into a scorching sun, causing even the surrounding space to begin to twist. The moment the Gyaralong charged close, Flame Dance directly grasped the Gyaralong's dragon horn, and powerful divine power rapidly spread into the Gyaralong's body. The Gyaralong's scales began to wither and crack. While Flame Dance and Gyaralong the Immortal were fighting, Qin Hao and the others quickly adapted to the changes in the surrounding rain curtain, engaged the remaining giant pythons, and swiftly dealt with their opponents. The outside territory battlefield inherently requires quick, decisive battles. Every minute of delay could lead to unforeseen circumstances, potentially facing enemy reinforcements. After dealing with their opponents, Qin Hao and the others also came to Gyaralong the Immortal's side, joining the battle. Earth Distance firmly grasped the Gyaralong's tail, powerful divine power corroding the Gyaralong's body. Gold Bright also held nothing back. His world power, driven by laws, consumed the Gyaralong's divine power. Qin Hao once again deployed a wind blade storm, trapping the Gyaralong within it, continuously eroding its body. The simultaneous encirclement by two undying beings and two World Lord powerhouses comparable to undying made the Gyaralong feel a crisis of life and death. Awuo. With a wail, the Gyaralong's divine power began to burn. Burning divine power is inherently a last-ditch effort, unleashing powerful combat strength. The main reason it's difficult to kill opponents of the same rank is the power unleashed by burning divine power, which requires an equally potent burning of divine power to counter. As its divine power burned, the Gyaralong's body was enveloped in blue flames. Its divine power was rapidly depleting, and the intensity of its struggle caused Flame Dance and Earth Distance to feel a sharp increase in pressure. Neither of them hesitated, burning their divine power to continue suppressing Gyaralong the Immortal. At the same time, Phoenix Splendor and Wood Hero from afar also joined the battle. Phoenix Splendor, emulating Qin Hao, controlled wind blades to form a storm, continuously attacking Jaya along the Immortal, but with little effect. Wood Hero, however, did not directly attack. Instead, she took out various potions from her world. She quickly mixed different potions together, and soon a scorching hot potion was formed. Wood Hero poured the formed potion directly onto the Jaya Along's body. The blue flames met the scorching red potion. The red potion, like a virus, began to rapidly spread and corrode the surroundings. It's actually devouring divine power. Qin Hao felt a slight surprise in his heart as he observed the potion's reaction. To be able to devour divine power, such a potion was not something an ordinary person could refine. However, this potion was also relatively niche. An undying's divine power and divine body could be directly severed. Under normal circumstances, if such a situation were encountered, simply severing it would solve the problem. But now, Jaya Along the Immortal, facing the encirclement, had no ability to resist. He could only feel his divine power being rapidly consumed and slowly annihilated. Chapter 213. Calm. Adventure. The burning and collision of divine power continuously destroyed the surrounding starry sky, and the shattered forms gradually turned into nothingness. Wood Hero and Phoenix Splendor could no longer withstand the power of the divine power collision and retreated thousands of miles away. Gold Bright also gradually found it difficult to sustain and began to retreat. Only Flame Dance, Earth Distance, and Qin Hao, the three god ancestors, remained in the battle, continuing to obliterate the dragon immortal's body. What was originally a several hundred-kilometer body was now only half its size. The weaker it became, the more fiercely the dragon immortal struggled, its desire for survival making it desperately accelerate the burning of its divine power. However, as the battle progressed, its struggle gradually weakened. The attacks of three immortal-level powerhouses had already sealed its fate, leaving it no chance to struggle. Qin Hao looked at the dragon immortal before him with some regret. An undying's body was entirely composed of divine power. Although powerful, its ultimate essence was still just divine power. Only by completely annihilating it would the dragon immortal truly die. If it were a world lord rank creature, the dragon immortal's body would be excellent material for refining artifacts. Soon, the dragon immortal's body had been ground down to less than 30%, and the dragon immortal fell into a deep slumber. The state of divine power burning stopped, and Flame Dance and Earth Distance also ceased burning their divine power. The three god ancestors who had retreated quickly gathered again. After completely killing the dragon immortal, they began to clear the battlefield. On the battlefield, Qin Hao collected the corpses of the 6 dead giant python world lords, quickly dismantled various materials, and stored them in his world ring. Qin Hao, why did you dismantle all the corpses? Phoenix Splendor came to Qin Hao's side and, seeing him dismantling the giant python corpses, asked curiously. Nothing much. World Lord rank monster race corpses are good materials for refining artifacts. I plan to use them to forge some weapons, Qin Hao said. Really? You can refine artifacts? Can you help me refine a weapon? Phoenix Splendor's eyes sparkled as she looked at Qin Hao, speaking with anticipation. She was well aware of Qin Hao's formidable strength displayed in this battle, knowing he was not simple. Now that he mentioned refining artifacts, he should have a good understanding of it and might even be able to forge powerful weapons. Yes, no problem. These giant pythons can be refined into a good set of bow and arrows, Qin Hao thought for a moment and said to Phoenix Splendor. Qin Hao planned to refine the giant pythons' bodies into a set of bow and arrows. Using the giant python's sinews as the bowstring, their bones refined into the bow and arrows, their teeth as arrowheads, combined with some metal and water law inscriptions, it could unleash powerful might. Really? Thank you so much, Phoenix Splendor said happily. Her current bow and arrows were not weak, being 5th-tier divine weapons which were suitable for a world lord. However, that was as far as they went. Purchasing a 6th-tier divine weapon was too expensive, requiring a large amount of wealth. Clear the battlefield and leave quickly, Flame Dance said. After taking out the spaceship, she urged everyone to act quickly. Ending a battle and immediately leaving was almost a basic rule of the outside territory battlefield. When encountering danger, most Undying would choose to call for help. If the enemy received the call for help, then someone would come. Although this rule is not as mandatory among the alien races, there are still many who harbor the idea of being a mantis stalking a cicada, coming from behind. The spaceship quickly left the battlefield and continued its voyage. The Kuang Yan squad did not return directly to the base, but chose to continue sailing in the Broken Star Sea. The following days were much calmer, with no enemies encountered for over a month. Flame Dance and the others had already grown accustomed to it. After one battle, they often wouldn't encounter another for a long time. However, everyone remained very tense, with Flame Dance and Earth Distance taking turns watching the detector, monitoring the surrounding situation. Qin Hao and the others were relatively relaxed, either entering cultivation or conversing with each other. The days were very peaceful and passed quickly. Qin Hao directly entered his world ring and began refining artifacts. After processing the giant python's body and selecting some metals, he replanned the weapons and began refining them. The goal was a set of bow and arrows. For the longbow, the bowstring was refined by fusing the sinews and skin of 9 giant pythons, along with some metal, and then braided. In addition to some wind law inscriptions, there were also some water law inscriptions, and even a hint of cooperation between these two laws. The longbow adopted composite metal, focusing solely on hardness and toughness, with the laws also being wind law and water law. The final arrows were made from the giant python's bones, fangs, and some other materials integrated into them. This also involved a combination of wind law and water law. This combination was chosen because, on one hand, Phoenix Splendor practiced wind law, and on the other hand, the giant pythons themselves were associated with water law. The cooperation between the two would unleash even greater power. The ice aspect of water law, combined with the speed emphasis of wind law, allowed the bow and arrows to exhibit the characteristics of sharp ice, hardness, and speed, further enhancing the bow and arrows' power. It's done. After a month of meticulous crafting, the bow and arrows gradually took shape. Qin Hao looked at the bow and arrows before him, took them in his hand, placed an arrow on the bowstring, and drew it back. The power of wind law and water law condensed, forming 2 streams of light on the arrow, and a powerful force erupted. The arrow seemed capable of piercing through anything at any moment. The surrounding temperature also began to drop rapidly, and water vapor condensed into frost, freezing everything. Although the material of the bow and arrows was not outstanding, under Qin Hao's refinement, it had already reached the level of a 6th-tier divine weapon. Furthermore, with the blessing of wind law and water law, if given to an Undying who had comprehended wind law and water law, the power unleashed would be even greater. The world inside the world ring also began to tremble under this power. Qin Hao quickly put away the bow and arrows. Qin Hao, have you finished refining? As soon as he emerged from the world ring, Phoenix Splendor quickly walked up to Qin Hao, looking at him with anticipation. It's done, Qin Hao said, and a set of bow and arrows appeared in his hand, a longbow and 9 arrows suspended in the air. An aura of wind law and water law enveloped the bow and arrows, and a chilling coldness from the bow and arrows quickly spread to various parts of the spaceship. The others were also quickly drawn by this coldness, and looked towards Qin Hao and Phoenix Splendor. The others were also very curious about Qin Hao's artifact refining. However, they still had some expectations about what level of weapon Qin Hao could refine. Although there were many standardized weapons, they would not suit everyone. The emergence of an artifact refiner could allow them to further improve their weapons, making them more compatible with themselves and unleashing even greater power. Chapter 214, Rescue Signal. Chapter 214. Rescue Signal. The bow and arrow crafted by Qin Hao received everyone's approval due to its powerful law aura and ingenious design. This set of bow and arrow directly and greatly enhanced Phoenix Splendor's strength, improving her attack power, speed, and other aspects, even reaching a maximum power that could threaten an undying level existence. It's important to know that the gap between a world lord and an undying is immense. Although a universe master war general is already a top-tier expert among world lords, with a deep understanding of their respective laws, becoming an undying would not be too difficult for them. However, not being an undying means not being an undying. No matter how powerful the breakout force, it remains at the world lord rank. Only a select few geniuses among universe master war generals, by relying on their comprehension of higher laws, secret techniques, and some treasures, can truly reach a level comparable to an undying. Gold Bright in the team was such an individual. He had a profound understanding of the law of metal and a deep comprehension of the space law, surpassing many undying-level beings. With multiple enhancements, his combat power reached the undying level in an explosive state. However, he was only an ordinary undying, capable of briefly preserving his life against an immortal army lord. With the successful crafting of the bow and arrow, Qin Hao gained the recognition of the entire team. At the same time, Qin Hao also began to take on the role of the team's artificer, crafting suitable weapons for team members. However, it was not free of charge. Team members paid for material and production costs in advance. Furthermore, they provided detailed demonstrations of their combat characteristics, understanding of laws, and various data to serve as a reference for Qin Hao to tailor-make their weapons. This level of trust, where such data is revealed without reservation, only occurs under conditions of relative trust. After all, each piece of data could directly expose one's weaknesses, becoming a target for opponents. The reason for such easy trust in Qin Hao was primarily the formidable strength he displayed. Through their engagements, everyone had witnessed Qin Hao's composure in battle and his nonchalant manner when dealing with opponents, which was a complete crushing situation. Even when facing Dragon Immortal, Qin Hao showed no panic or even any emotional fluctuations, as if the undying before him posed no threat whatsoever. Qin Hao's subsequent days became quite uneventful. He occasionally rested, conversed with team members, and checked for any battles. Most of his time was spent crafting artifacts within his world ring. The entire world ring had been completely transformed by Qin Hao, with numerous stars and various celestial bodies within the world, not only providing powerful energy to help smelt metals, but also creating different crafting environments. Qin Hao first chose to craft a weapon designed for flame dance, the blazing fire halberd, with blazing sun gold crystal as the main material, mixed with various precious minerals. The halberd was engraved with complete law of fire secret inscriptions, forming a unified whole. At the same time, a large number of space law secret inscriptions were carved on the spearhead and the crescent-shaped blade beside it. Furthermore, Qin Hao integrated some of his insights into the law fusion of the law of fire and space law into it. It took Qin Hao a full 3 months to complete the refining of the blazing fire halberd. After the halberd was formed, its entire body was covered in flames. These flames emanated from the halberd itself, with a temperature far exceeding that of ordinary stars. Ordinary world lord rank existences could not survive in these spontaneously emitted flames. A top-tier 6th-tier divine weapon, not bad. Holding the halberd, Qin Hao began to wield it. Without any power augmentation, the halberd's power continuously tore through the void, and flames erupted incessantly. Powerful forces raged within the world ring. Fortunately, the entire world had been repeatedly modified and reinforced by Qin Hao, making its strength far surpass that of an ordinary world. Otherwise, the entire world would have completely collapsed long ago. Within such a world, refining a 6th-tier divine weapon was already the limit. To refine a heavy treasure, not only are the materials more complex, but the requirements for the refining environment are also more stringent. After refining the blazing fire halberd, Qin Hao emerged from the world ring, handed the weapon to Flame Dance, and then immediately re-entered the world ring, disregarding Flame Dance's stunned and disbelieving expression as she looked at the weapon in her hand. Holding the blazing fire halberd, Flame Dance directly stopped the spaceship, opened the hatch, stepped out of the spaceship, and flew to a star fragment tens of thousands of miles away. Divine power poured into the blazing fire halberd, and under the propulsion of powerful divine power, mighty flames erupted from the blazing fire halberd. Flame Dance herself seemed to transform into a blazing sun, and the surrounding stars rapidly melted and evaporated under the high temperature. Wielding the blazing fire halberd, Flame Dance excitedly swung it, deploying her secret technique, and all her flame divine power, law of fire power, and partial space law power erupted. Instantly, the surrounding star field was cleared, and all the star fragments were completely melted, burned, and vanished. What powerful strength! The captain's strength has grown stronger again, Phoenix Splendor said happily, looking at Flame Dance in the distance. With the captain's strength increasing, the entire team's strength also became greater, and the chances of survival increased. She is already comparable to a champion, but it should be due to the divine weapon. Earth Distance made his judgment. He was very clear about Flame Dance's strength. Her displayed laws had not shown much breakthrough, but her strength had increased significantly. The only change was the weapon in her hand. This time, our team has truly found a treasure. Gold Bright also spoke at this moment. As a core member of the 5 great powers, he was very aware of the power of the weapon in Flame Dance's hand, which was top tier among 6th-tier divine weapons. Aside from some invincible king experts who possessed heavy treasures, this blazing fire halberd was considered upper middle among all divine weapons, typically owned by champions. Over the next year, Qin Hao successively crafted weapons for Earth Distance, Gold Bright, and Wood Hero, each being a 6th-tier divine weapon. These divine weapons were specifically tailored to their individual circumstances, not only aligning with their comprehension of laws, but also featuring numerous secret inscriptions carved by Qin Hao, which could, to some extent, guide their direction of comprehension. After completing the crafting, Qin Hao also relaxed. Each year, he cultivated in the spaceship, awaiting the start of battles. Every battle on the outside territory battlefield is a life-or-death struggle, yet it doesn't occur constantly. In fact, encountering an opponent requires a certain amount of luck, as the outside territory battlefield is vast. Even with numerous undying scattered within it, not a single ripple can be seen. Beep, 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 beep. A series of alarms sounded, and a coordinate appeared on the screen. Chapter 215, Great Battle, Chapter 215. Great Battle, there's a distress signal, about 6 billion kilometers from here. Move out immediately. Seeing the information on the screen, Flame Dance commanded the intelligent lifeform to act quickly. After the spaceship rapidly entered light speed, it entered the dark universe. After a short period of travel, it quickly emerged from the dark universe. The spaceship's position was already close to the coordinates of the distress signal. At the same time Flame Dance gave the order, the other people on the spaceship also quickly moved, preparing for battle. Qin Hao stood up, his longsword unsheathed, ready to strike at any moment. Such rescue missions are not particularly common on the outside territory battlefield. After all, the area is too vast, and the chances of someone being in the vicinity by coincidence are very small. After the spaceship traveled for a few minutes, the distant fluctuations of battle began to intensify, and the warring parties on the battlefield came into the eyes of Qin Hao and the others. One side of the battle was humanity, 1 undying and 9 world lords. The opponents' numbers were similar. However, from the state of the battle, the opponent's undying was more powerful, constantly suppressing the human undying. With the strongest being suppressed, the battles of the human world lords were not going well, and they couldn't provide support. If the battle continued like this, it would only be a matter of time before the team was annihilated. I didn't expect it to be members of the monster race again, Flame Dance said, already leaving the hatch and heading towards the distant battlefield. Qin Hao and the others also quickly moved, following Flame Dance's figure to join the battlefield. You little brats of the monster race, taste the power of my new weapon, Flame Dance's voice echoed across the battlefield. At the same time, the power of fire raged from her blazing fire halberd, transforming into a giant fire dragon that directly attacked the golden eagle undying on the battlefield. Upon seeing the sudden appearance of Flame Dance, Golden Eagle showed no frustration or fear. Instead, his eyes held a hint of excitement and amusement. Facing Flame Dance's attack, he did not choose to clash head-on but instead flapped his wings and quickly retreated. At the same time, the 12 monster race world lords who were engaged in battle also quickly retreated, each standing behind Golden Eagle, looking at Flame Dance, and the others. Subscribe for more amazing novel audiobooks. Don't forget to like, comment, and share Infinite Novel Audio. Something's not right. Seeing the situation on the distant battlefield, Qin Hao sensed an unusual aura. Now that their team had appeared, the disparity in strength between the two sides had widened. In terms of numbers and powerful individuals, the monster race team held no advantage, yet they hadn't retreated. Instead, they all looked confident and unafraid. There was a trap here. Qin Hao could think, and Flame Dance on the battlefield, as well as the other undying team, also realized something was wrong. The two teams quickly moved closer together, ready to leave at any moment. I didn't expect to actually catch a fish, and quite a big one at that. Golden Eagle's voice made the hearts of Flame Dance and the others sink. It seems we've fallen into an ambush. Everyone, be ready to retreat at any moment, Flame Dance said to Qin Hao and the others behind her. The opponent was so confident, which meant the strength of the hidden individuals behind them must be extremely formidable. Should we continue sending distress signals? As long as someone is nearby, we can devour the entire opponent, said the undying of the other team. This matter originated with him, and he knew that the situation facing the two teams was not optimistic. Let's try it first. Hopefully, there really is someone nearby. Flame Dance was also very helpless. She couldn't think of any good alternatives. However, her mind was more focused on the true strength of their opponent. Soon, they also saw their opponents. A new team suddenly appeared beside Golden Eagle. The team was small, with only 5 members, but the aura of each of the 5 was extremely powerful. Every one of them was an immortal-level existence. Leading them was a golden tiger undying, followed by a monster race green wolf, a fox, a man-bull, and a griffon. The 5 undying, after appearing, focused their gazes on Qin Hao and the others. There are actually 5 undying, and the one leading them should be a marquee-level immortal expert, Flame Dance said, assessing the strength of the 5 suddenly appearing individuals. To be able to subdue so many undying, one must at least be a marquee-level existence. The rules of the monster race are simpler than those of humanity. The strong are revered. They generally do not submit to others, except when facing stronger individuals. After the battle begins, I'll deal with that giant tiger. You two will handle the green wolf and golden eagle. Gold Bright and Qin Hao, each of you will hold back one undying. Wood Hero and Phoenix Splendor, you two will deal with the last one. You must buy us time until we resolve our battles. Flame Dance began to strategize for the battle, while the monster race individuals on the opposite side also began to move. Golden Tiger's roar seemed to signal the start of the battle. His roar echoed across the battlefield, making everyone feel a momentary daze in their hearts. At this moment, Golden Tiger leaped, directly charging from the other end of the battlefield and quickly arriving not far from Qin Hao and the others. Flame Dance reacted at this moment, not daring to show any slack. She raised her blazing fire halberd above her head, its shaft entwined with flames. Energy gathered on its crescent-shaped blade, and it clashed directly with Golden Tiger. Meeting the attack hastily and colliding with Golden Tiger, Flame Dance's figure rapidly retreated, her hands trembling. Is this the power of a marquee-level immortal expert? Flame Dance felt the powerful force that struck in the instant of their collision. She was somewhat surprised, but more so excited. Although she suffered a disadvantage from the hasty strike, she also felt that the opponent's strength was within her manageable range. Especially with the blazing fire halberd in hand, she had even more confidence. Her fighting spirit surged. Flame Dance was engulfed in flames, her body continuously growing larger, fully unleashing her undying might. The blazing fire halberd also grew larger, and the flames became even more scorching. At this moment, Flame Dance seemed to transform into a god of war, directly attacking Golden Tiger. As Flame Dance and Golden Tiger engaged, the battles of the others were also on the verge of breaking out. Qin Hao and the others each locked onto their opponents and immediately began their engagements. Earth Distance faced the Green Wolf Undying. Gold Bright faced the Man-Bull Undying. Wood Hero and Phoenix Splendor faced the Fox Undying, and Qin Hao directly faced the Griffon Undying. Meanwhile, the other team continued to battle the Golden Eagle team. Qin Hao observed the situation on the battlefield, knowing full well that, based on the demonstrated strength, there was virtually no chance of victory. Ultimately, the two teams could only be annihilated. However, with him present, such a thing would not happen. But how could he silently eliminate the opponent? Qin Hao pondered countermeasures while dealing with the Griffon in front of him. The simplest way would be to directly unleash a certain amount of strength, cripple the Griffon, and then help Earth Distance resolve his opponent, which would directly turn the tide of the battle. Thinking this, Qin Hao no longer hesitated. On the outside territory battlefield, the more one thinks, the more variables arise. Wind law enveloped his entire body, making Qin Hao seem to transform into a wisp of clear breeze. At the same time, he mobilized time law, and under the enhancement of time law, the wisps of clear breeze became even faster. A gentle breeze softly brushed past the Griffon's body. Wind, Flowers, Snow, Moon. Chapter 216, the spoiler. Chapter 216, the spoiler. Wind, Flower, Snow, Moon. This was a secret technique Qin Hao created by applying the wind law and time law. When the secret technique was cast, there wasn't much commotion. It was like a gentle breeze blowing past, making people feel very comfortable, even unaware of any danger. However, once truly attacked, its immense power would erupt. The name Wind, Flower, Snow, Moon was also related to the move itself. An attack as free, changeable, and unpredictable as the wind, as beautiful and enchanting as a flower, yet fleeting. As silent as snow, yet extremely cold, giving no sense of danger but capable of harming at any moment. And like the moon, beautiful and distant, with the passage of time occurring in an instant. The Griffon Undying felt the gentle breeze and his eyes were filled with disdain. Such an attack, yet this person dared to face him alone, dared to provoke a powerful Undying. Although he had been subdued by Golden Tiger, it was mostly a temporary measure. As soon as his strength improved, he would certainly not be content to remain subservient to others. An angry roar came from the Griffon's mouth, then his wings spread, wanting to charge at Qin Hao. But as he flapped his wings, the feathers began to peel off one by one, and his divine power gradually dissipated. Subsequently, all the feathers on his body started to fall off continuously. His flesh was torn, and extremely deep wounds appeared on his body. 10% of my body was annihilated. His body quickly recovered, the wounds began to heal, and the feathers reformed, but the loss of his divine body and divine power filled the Griffon's eyes with ferocity. How was this possible? He hadn't suffered any attack, nor was there any powerful enemy, yet he was strangely injured and lost a large amount of divine power. Such a powerful attack, even an ordinary champion could not achieve, yet it mysteriously appeared on him now. Is someone hidden in the dark? The Griffon Undying's heart was filled with panic. Often, such incomprehensible existences were the most fatal. As an Undying, he possessed endless lifespan and had witnessed many king-level experts. Now, the person who appeared was able to make him lose 10% of his divine body without a sound. It would be very simple to kill him. Is there a king-level expert hidden here? The more he thought about it, the heavier the fear in his heart became. At this moment, the Griffon no longer dared to hesitate and began to retreat rapidly. At this point, he no longer cared about Qin Hao. He also wouldn't have thought that this small world lord in front of him was the mastermind behind everything. Griffon, what are you trying to do? Are you going to betray us? The Griffon's retreat attracted the attention of Golden Tiger and the others. Golden Tiger's roar echoed throughout the entire battlefield. Everyone fighting on the battlefield couldn't help but look at the Griffon, their eyes filled with dangerous aura. Facing the murderous gazes of the monster race, the Griffon's steps involuntarily stopped. On one side was an unknown king-level expert, and on the other was the threat from his own race. He didn't know how to respond. If he stayed, he didn't know what kind of outcome he would face. If he fled, he would certainly face the pursuit of Golden Tiger and the others, and death might become the best outcome. The Griffon stopped and quickly charged towards Qin Hao. No matter what, quickly dealing with this kid in front of him might give him a glimmer of hope. Even if there was a mysterious king-level expert, with so many Undying on their side, they would have some confidence if they fought to the death. Looking at the Griffon charging towards him, Qin Hao's eyes showed no ripples. The long sword in his hand slashed out in all directions. Wind, flower, snow, moon. He cast it again, but this time it was not aimed solely at the Griffon, but covered everyone on the entire battlefield. His powerful control allowed Qin Hao to achieve the ultimate control over the secret technique. A gentle breeze swept across the entire battlefield. Qin Hao's allies felt no threat, only the appearance of a strange breeze. However, the monster race suffered heavy blows. The monster race world lords who were fighting had their bodies explode directly, turning into dust. The Undying also suffered severe injuries, losing divine bodies and divine power, leaving wounds all over their bodies. Even Golden Tiger's body was completely covered in wounds, with bones exposed beneath his fur. This was also Qin Hao's special attention to him. After all, he was the strongest, so more effort was needed. And the Griffon, being closest to Qin Hao, was even worse off. His body lost another 20%, his entire state plummeted, and the fear in his eyes grew even heavier. Furthermore, this time he also discovered that the source of all this was very likely the human world lord in front of him. The first breeze and this breeze were almost identical. There was clearly no power, yet the damage caused was immense. It's this human world lord kid, he did it. The Griffon's terrified voice echoed in everyone's ears, drawing everyone's attention. However, the monster race's eyes were filled with disbelief, while Flame Dance and the others were more confused. They didn't know how their opponents were suddenly injured, and the monster race world lords were even completely annihilated. Now, the Griffon was shouting that Qin Hao did it. What did Qin Hao do? Did he do everything just now? How is this possible? Everyone thought, could such a bizarre method be achieved by a world lord? Even if he was powerful enough to rival an Undying, it would be impossible to reach such a level. To severely injure a champion and several Undying in an instant, even a king-level expert would find it difficult, at least a powerful king-level expert among them. A world lord, stronger than a king-level expert, how could this be possible? With so many king-level experts in the outside territory battlefield, and so many king-level experts in the entire universe, such geniuses were few and far between. How could such a genius be placed on the outside territory battlefield? Shouldn't he be strictly protected to allow him to grow successfully, become a venerable, or even a universe overlord? Feeling everyone's disbelief on the battlefield, the Griffon said nothing more. His fear reached its peak, and his heart was instead filled with anger. Why could a small world lord be so strong? Why should he be controlled by others? Why didn't these people believe him? Why did he have to face such an opponent? With the anger in his heart, the Griffon's divine power began to burn, and the aura on his entire body rapidly soared. His gaze towards Qin Hao was filled with resentment. Even if you're strong, what good is it? You're still a world lord. I refuse to believe that I can't kill you, even if it costs me my life. At this moment, the Griffon was reckless, only thinking of quickly killing the person in front of him. He absolutely had to kill the person in front of him. Even if he died, he would make the person in front of him pay the price. You caused all of this. The Griffon shouted, spreading his wings. Azure light gathered, and the wind law condensed on his wings. His speed reached its maximum, and the Griffon transformed into an azure arrow, charging towards Qin Hao. Chapter 217, Zerg Chapter 217. Insect Race and Undying's Full Power Strike, Burning Divine Power, shocked even the undying engaged in battle across the entire battlefield. Burning divine power almost meant fighting to the death. No one expected such a situation to arise so soon after the battle began. Moreover, the one burning divine power was an undying from the monster race side. This made both sides feel that this battle was somewhat strange. Damn humans. At this moment, Golden Tiger looked at Flame Dance and the others on the battlefield with hatred, his mood starting to become agitated, and his attacks grew wilder. Qin Hao watched the griffin attacking him, not bothered, but instead surveyed his surroundings, constantly thinking. On the battlefield, the clashes between the monster race and Flame Dance's group were fierce, or rather, they had a desperate posture. Fighting desperately is common on the outside territory battlefield, but now it felt eerily out of place, as if something had provoked their emotions. I didn't expect anyone to be hiding here. Qin Hao's soul power swept through the surrounding space, instantly discovering an unusual location. "Let's rest for a bit," Qin Hao said, thrusting his longsword directly. A powerful force collided with the griffin, and the griffin's divine power and divine body began to rapidly dissipate. 50%, 40%, 30%. As its divine power was depleted to below 30%, the griffin fell into a deep slumber. Qin Hao no longer paid attention to the griffin, his figure quickly vanishing from his spot, shooting towards an area outside the battlefield. In a blink of an eye, he arrived at a space 1,000 miles away. Wind Law and Time Law condensed on the tip of his sword, and a sword kai shot out from the longsword, striking a barrier. Seeing the barrier, Qin Hao's attacks became even more rapid. Blades of wind and sword kai slashed out from his longsword, quickly impacting the barrier. Bang, 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 crack. After an intense collision, a cracking sound gradually emerged, and then everything around shattered, revealing a strange spaceship before Qin Hao. Calling it a spaceship, it looked more like an insect nest, but it was smaller than the Zerg Queen Mother's insect nests Qin Hao had seen before. "It's indeed the insect race, and an insect nest at that," Qin Hao said, looking at the insect nest before him. The insect race had vast differences in strength. At the top were the Zerg Queen Mothers, who, upon reaching immortal level, could birth an infinite number of undying insect race soldiers, making even venerables wary. Insect nests were considered elite among the insect race, capable of birthing a certain number of undying warriors, and practically unrivaled among their peers. Coupled with their talent in soul attacks, they were truly unstoppable. The anomaly on the battlefield originated from the influence of the insect nest, which guided the hatred, anger, and other negative emotions from everyone's souls, accelerating the battle, thereby allowing it to reap the benefits in the end. I didn't expect a mere world lord to discover me. A sharp voice emanated from the insect nest. "As a reward, you shall become my servant." As the voice fell, a surge of soul power burst from the insect nest, rushing directly towards Qin Hao. The insect nest before him was not weak. It was already a marquee-level immortal existence, with soul power even comparable to some champions. Such strength would leave no room for error against an ordinary world lord. However, Qin Hao was precisely that exception. The insect nest's powerful soul power entered Qin Hao's sea of consciousness, and was instantly and completely annihilated, causing no impact whatsoever to Qin Hao. As the insect nest sensed the disappearance of its soul power, it quickly sprang into action. A large number of insect race creatures rapidly flew out from within the insect nest. Each of these insect race creatures possessed the strength of a peak world lord, and thousands of peak world lord-level insect race creatures rapidly flew towards Qin Hao. How can the insect race appear here, in such numbers, and an insect nest at that? The appearance of a large number of insect race creatures also attracted the attention of both warring parties on the distant battlefield. 1,000-mile distance was no different from being right in front of them in the eyes of the combatants. Everyone had seen Qin Hao suddenly leave the battlefield. No one expected such a situation to arise. The insect race has appeared. Everyone, quickly end your battles and prepare to face the insect race. Flame Dance's voice echoed across the entire battlefield, and at the same time, her attacks on Golden Tiger became more urgent. On the battlefield, everyone else's combat also involuntarily sped up. Golden Tiger and the others also felt the pressure on them suddenly increase, with Golden Eagle bearing the greatest pressure. Originally, Golden Eagle had been quite relaxed dealing with the previous Undying. However, Qin Hao's attack had directly wiped out all of his team members. The siege by the Undying team members, most of whom were World Lords, plus the Undying leader, forced Golden Eagle to respond cautiously. Furthermore, he was already injured, making him even more stretched thin. Under Flame Dance's command, the battle became even more rapid. Golden Eagle's feathers were constantly destroyed, his speed dropped, and his wounds increased. Kill! With a battle cry, the Undying leader of the Undying team suddenly burned his divine power, his attack instantly becoming more powerful, striking Golden Eagle. Golden Eagle was directly split in two, his divine body rapidly being eroded. Without giving Golden Eagle any time to react, a second attack, along with the attacks of other participating World Lords, followed. Before Golden Eagle's body could even recover, his divine body was mostly eroded. By the time Golden Eagle finally managed to recover his body, he had already fallen completely into a disadvantage, with almost no power to resist under the powerful attacks. The massive loss of divine power and divine body made him even more hesitant to recklessly burn his divine body. He was quickly worn down by a barrage of attacks, his divine body eroded, and he fell into a deep slumber. After dealing with Golden Eagle, the Undying quickly joined other battlefields. At this moment, Earth Distance had also dealt with his opponent and went to assist Gold Bright. The other Undying from Golden Tiger's team were quickly defeated and fell into a deep slumber. Earth Distance and the others did not choose to completely eliminate these individuals at this time. After all, there was a major battle coming, and they still needed to preserve a certain amount of fighting strength. On the battlefield, only Flame Dance was still fighting Golden Tiger. Golden Tiger was, after all, a Marquis-level immortal expert. Although Flame Dance's strength was comparable to a Marquis-level immortal, it was achieved through the augmentation of her weapon. Her understanding of laws was still somewhat inferior. Even though Golden Tiger was seriously injured, it was still difficult to defeat him in a short time. Damn humans! Golden Tiger looked at the people gathering towards him, cursing in his heart. At this moment, he dared not linger any longer. Even as a Marquis-level immortal, facing numerous Undying, he still had to be careful, let alone with an existence of his own level also present. Roar. After a roar, Golden Tiger's figure quickly leaped out of the battle circle, rushing rapidly towards the insect nest's location not far away. Chapter 218, The Tough Zerg Know, Tian Hao is in danger. Flame Dance looked in the direction Golden Tiger had left and quickly followed. Although the monster race and the insect race have some disagreements, they have an innate hostility towards the human race. Now that Golden Tiger is heading towards the Zerg hive, the most dangerous one is Qin Hao, who is near the Zerg hive. Although only World Lord rank Zergs have appeared so far, their massive numbers make everyone present tremble. Thousands of World Lord rank Zergs, each with the power of a World Lord peak, and each having fully comprehended a law. It can be said that every Zerg, apart from their power still being world power, is almost indistinguishable from an Undying. With the blessing of numbers, any Undying facing so many Zergs can only choose to retreat. However, these Zergs clearly did not bring any pressure to Qin Hao. He moved quickly, constantly eliminating the Zergs approaching him. Every sword strike went straight to the vital point, using the simplest moves and the most effortless methods to deal with every opponent he faced. Although there were thousands of Zergs around, they did not cause Qin Hao any harm. In fact, Qin Hao's surroundings were already occupied by the corpses of over 1,000 Zergs, all of whom he had eliminated. Looking at the piled-up Zerg corpses around him, Qin Hao didn't hesitate, directly collecting them and sending them into the myriad beast Atlas space where the Zerg Queen Mother he had enslaved resided. Although the materials were a bit inferior, a fly, no matter how small, is still meat. Moreover, they were nurtured by an immortal-level Zerg hive, so they might still be somewhat useful. Just as Qin Hao was continuously killing the surrounding Zergs, the Zerg hive not far away began to tremble. Another wave of Zergs rushed out of the hive. This wave of Zergs was even stronger. Their carapaces were darker in color, and there were even immortal-level Zergs among them. An immortal-level Zerg hive is indeed a troublesome existence. It only has the power of a marquee-level immortal, but if it's not contained, even a champion will find it difficult to deal with. Qin Hao thought as he looked at the new batch of Zergs that appeared. These Zergs posed no threat to him, and he could even eliminate them completely in a short time. However, his current disguised identity and strength had certain limitations. Showing too much might expose his identity, so it would be best to deal with the Zerg hive in front of him without anyone noticing. However, the Zerg hive's speed of spawning soldiers was somewhat beyond his expectations. Moreover, the battle on the distant outside territory battlefield had already ended, and everyone chose not to leave, but to come towards his direction. With the combined strength of Flame Dance and the others, dealing with a marquee-level immortal would not be a problem, but dealing with a Zerg marquee-level immortal, especially a Zerg hive's marquee-level immortal, would almost certainly lead to death. What's more, there was still a golden tiger who hadn't left. Two marquee-level immortal combat powers were already not to be underestimated on the outside territory battlefield. It seems it's time to leave. Qin Hao made a decision in his heart. He had originally wanted to experience this kind of squad combat, which was also a lifestyle. When he was on Earth, when he first became a martial artist, he usually also had a martial artist squad. However, Qin Hao chose to be a lone wolf, and for most of his other time, he was also alone. Entering the outside territory battlefield, he also wanted to have a different experience. Now it seemed that this brief experience was about to end. At the same time, Golden Tiger had already arrived not far from where Qin Hao was fighting the Zerg hive. That kid is not a simple world lord. He's a human race genius. He cannot be left alive. Golden Tiger's divine power spread out, and at the same time he shouted loudly towards the Zerg hive deep within the Zerg Sea. Facing the Zerg hive and the Zerg Sea, it did not dare to take any chances. The outside territory battlefield itself was a chaotic place, an area where various races fought, and mutual hunting between races never stopped. Although there would be some mixed alien squads, they were only bound by interests and had no true loyalty. The reason Golden Tiger came over was also to trip up the human race, to draw the Zerg's attention to the human race, and at the same time, to eliminate Qin Hao. The short battle and the strangeness on the battlefield made him feel that Qin Hao was not simple. Now, facing the Zerg hive, he did not immediately retreat, but was easily dealing with the Zerg hive within it. Everything indicated that this human race world lord was abnormal. As Golden Tiger's voice fell, a sharp shriek sounded from within the Zerg hive. The Zerg Sea still gathered quickly, converging on Qin Hao, and the frequency and speed of their attacks rapidly increased. Furthermore, all the Zergs formed arrays, cooperating with each other, and each attack was extremely powerful, having reached the marquee-level immortal level. Especially several arrays with undying Zergs as their core, their attack intensity almost reached the champion peak level. As expected, they are natural military geniuses. Qin Hao sighed at the powerful force unleashed by the perfect cooperation of the Zerg formations while dealing with the attacks. Since he had already decided to leave, Qin Hao also prepared to slightly display his strength. His body rapidly expanded, and a giant hundreds of miles tall appeared in the Zerg Sea. As the target grew larger, the Zerg's attacks also became more ferocious, but they did not cause Qin Hao any harm. The moment his body enlarged, Qin Hao's power gradually unleashed. The power of wind law and time law condensed, and time around Qin Hao seemed to slow down, with the Zerg's attack speed reduced to less than a tenth of their original speed. Why did the speed slow down? What happened to these Zergs? The decrease in the Zerg's speed left Golden Tiger, who was nearby, bewildered. The Zergs, whose attack speed and power were so strong just now moved so slowly. Time law. Time deceleration, how is that possible? How can a world lord have such a deep comprehension of time law? Golden Tiger quickly got the answer in his heart. Although he was on the edge of the battlefield, he could still feel the powerful time power. At the same time, Flame Dance and the others had also arrived at the edge of the battlefield. Looking at the strange scene on the battlefield, all of them were stunned in place. The Zerg warriors on the battlefield were like puppets on strings, moving very slowly, as if their movements had been slowed down countless times. Every step they took was perfectly calculated by Qin Hao. One Zerg after another was quickly killed. Even the undying Zergs among them could not withstand Qin Hao's single blow. With each strike, countless Zergs were directly annihilated, and the surrounding space was instantly completely cleared out. The Zerg Sea, composed of tens of thousands of Zergs, had completely disappeared, leaving only the Zerg hive in the distance and Golden Tiger not far away. Qin Hao stepped through the void, like a wisp of spring breeze, quickly floating onto the Zerg hive. At this moment, the Zerg hive made no movement, as if the surrounding time had been completely frozen, world power and law power condensed on the tip of his sword. Qin Hao unleashed a sword strike, and a powerful storm formed, quickly enveloping the Zerg hive within it. The Zerg hive's powerful divine body was rapidly ground down under this force. As the Zerg hive was enveloped by the storm, Qin Hao no longer paid attention to the Zerg hive, but directly stepped to appear in front of Golden Tiger. He also unleashed a sword strike, and Golden Tiger was also gradually ground down by the storm. Even if he wanted to resist, as soon as his divine power was released, it was directly completely annihilated. Chapter 219, Farewell. Chapter 219. Farewell. The battle ended in an instant, and Qin Hao appeared before Flame Dance and the others with a flash. At this moment, Flame Dance and the others also reacted, their gazes filled with shock and disbelief as they looked at Qin Hao. That was an insect race hive and an army composed of an endless sea of insects. Yet it all ended in an instant. There was also Golden Tiger, a genuine marquee-level immortal, and he too was dealt with in a single move. What kind of power was this? What kind of person could possess such immense strength? Was he truly just a world lord? What kind of world lord could be so powerful? As a core member of the 5 great powers, Gold Bright was completely shocked at this moment. As a world lord core member, he had comprehended higher laws, possessing strength comparable to an undying. Once he broke through, his strength would even reach the king level. Among the various powers, he was already considered a formidable expert. Even within various universe countries, he would be a feudal lord directly beneath the universe lord, dominating a region. Yet, at his current strength, a world lord had actually instantly killed 2 marquee-level immortals. Are you truly just a world lord? Phoenix Splendor asked, and the others all looked at Qin Hao very seriously, awaiting his answer. Yes, and not entirely, Qin Hao said, his aura changing, and a powerful presence was released. At this moment, he seemed to become the center of the entire world, transforming into a god. The immense power completely suppressed everyone, making them feel as if they were small boats in an ocean, capable of being overturned at any moment. All right, we should part ways here, Qin Hao said, his tone showing some fluctuation. Flame Dance and the others were relatively pure people. Being with them, he could clearly feel the changes in their emotions, almost without any concealment, acting on their impulses. These 5 god crystals are my final gift to you. If you encounter an enemy you cannot defeat, you can try using them. In Qin Hao's hand, 5 god crystals floated into the hands of Flame Dance, Earth Distance, Gold Bright, Phoenix Splendor, and Wood Hero. These 5 god crystals were created by Qin Hao, referencing the god crystals in the ancestral god tomb, but their effects were completely different. They condensed the power of time law and space law, capable of erupting with immense power that could threaten ordinary king-level experts. Such items were relatively useless to Qin Hao, but for Flame Dance, they were invaluable life-saving items. In the areas where they were currently active, king-level existences almost never appeared. Champion was already the peak. Thank you. Flame Dance and the others did not choose to ask him to stay. They understood the power Qin Hao displayed. he did not belong here. The enemies they faced were too weak for Qin Hao. He belonged on a larger stage. Waving his hand, Qin Hao stepped into the spaceship beside him. The spaceship quickly surpassed the speed of light and entered the dark universe. Qin Hao was preparing to travel to another part of the Broken Star domain, deep into the outside territory battlefield, to begin his new journey. Inside the spaceship, Qin Hao looked at the information sent by the outside territory battlefield military zone and directly chose to act alone. As for military merits, after the recent battle, they were already completed, and Qin Hao had obtained the opportunity to act independently. However, this was only the military merit quota set by the human race. It was far from meeting the quota set by the Virtual Universe Corporation. That quota required hundreds of king-level experts to complete. Qin Hao didn't feel too much pressure about this. King-level experts were not uncommon in the outside territory battlefield, and as he delved deeper, there would be more and more of them. Currently, Qin Hao's most important task was to change his soul aura. A World Lord rank aura was too obvious, and the strength he displayed would attract too much attention. Qin Hao's aura began to soar, quickly reaching the king level before it stopped. Now I am just an ordinary champion in the outside territory battlefield. For my laws, I will continue to focus on wind law and time law, with some space law as well. Qin Hao began to build his persona in his mind, focusing on the wind law, time law, and space law that he had been researching. As for how much strength he would display, that depended on what kind of enemies he encountered. As for the area of activity, he would first venture deep into the Broken Star domain, then explore various parts of the outside territory battlefield, and finally head to the area where the Star Tower was located. After setting the route, Qin Hao directly handed over the navigation work to Gu Lai, and at the same time, the spaceship's defense system and detector were fully activated. With a large number of points, Qin Hao's spaceship and detector were top tier, not even mass-produced in the virtual universe. This would allow Qin Hao to quickly encounter enemies in the outside territory battlefield. Navigating through the Broken Star domain, Qin Hao witnessed various environments. The closer he got to the depths, the more complex the surrounding environment became. Qin Hao's spaceship did not always travel in the dark universe. Most of the time, it was in the primordial universe. With the panoramic simulation open, Qin Hao felt as if he were in the universe. He watched various shattered stars, constantly devouring surrounding fragments of stars, and planets that were constantly reorganizing. Qin Hao had never seen many of these scenes before. Whether he came from Earth or was in the Virtual Universe Corporation, Qin Hao had seen many different kinds of planets and celestial bodies. However, more of his time was spent in cultivation. Such a leisurely state as he was in now was relatively rare. After all, Qin Hao had always been quite tense, wanting to quickly improve his strength to cope with anything that might arise. When he was on Earth, he had to face the golden-horned beast and the invaders who entered Earth. After entering the Virtual Universe Corporation, he had to quickly improve his strength and status to ensure that after Earth was exposed, he would have enough say. He had always been very tense, never enjoying his time, always cultivating. Now he could be said to have begun a truly slow-paced state. His cultivation in various laws had reached a limit. To improve, in addition to gradual accumulation, he needed more inspiration. At this point, it was not just a test of talent in cultivation, but also a test of character. Every true expert was not only powerful in strength, but also supported by a strong character. This was also why the human race placed so much importance on Earth after discovering it, and why even after Luo Feng's strength improved, some universe lords were still unwilling to give up on Earth. Ultimately, it was due to the importance placed on Earth, and the importance placed on character. Chapter 220, Hurricane King, Chapter 220. Hurricane King. For 10 years, Qin Hao had been continuously advancing, his spaceship rarely stopping, traversing the universe and openly moving forward on the outside territory battlefield. Qin Hao's blatant advance attracted the attention of many alien races, and many focused their attention on him. The constant battles added a lot of fun to Qin Hao's journey. In particular, the chaotic races and creatures on the outside territory battlefield truly broadened Qin Hao's horizons. At the same time, Qin Hao also found his next research direction: the genetic maps of various races. Previously, Qin Hao's cultivation focused more on laws, and his gene-level improvement was mostly routine cultivation of the Crimson Bright Nine Heavens diagram. However, deeper research into the gene level had not yet been conducted. Now, the vast number of life forms from various races on the outside territory battlefield became the most natural research subjects. The original work also contained a gene-level analysis diagram, detailing the gene levels of various creatures above perfect genes, forming a complete path to a divine body. However, these were too distant. What Qin Hao wanted to create was a cultivation path that could be spread among the human race in the primordial universe, a path that could help humanity evolve. Qin Hao didn't pay too much attention to cultivation above the perfect gene level. After all, that required not only resources, but also talent and opportunities. Even with a complete gene-level analysis diagram, only a very, very small fraction of people could cultivate it. Qin Hao was currently focused on a universally applicable growth path, one that wouldn't be rejected by the primordial universe. Moreover, Qin Hao had successful reference specimens. Himself, his state when he completed the innate Tao body transformation, combined with the cultivation method of the Crimson Bright Nine Heavens diagram, and his research into the genetic maps of various races. Qin Hao gradually achieved some results, which were more valuable than the cultivation method he had given to Primordial Chaos City Lord in Primordial Chaos City. After all, the simplified cultivation method at that time would still be rejected by the primordial universe, making it difficult to pass down orally, requiring a great cost to transmit. However, there was also an advantage. That cultivation method was more about cultivation, a high-level approach applicable to all stages. The current one, however, was foundational. The reason he cared so much about this research, besides for the human race, was also to further expand his research into the 10 great laws. The various creatures and manifestations in the universe are themselves part of the evolution of the universe's laws. Subscribe for more amazing novel audiobooks. Don't forget to like, comment, and share Infinite Novel Audio. Researching creatures is also researching the wondrous creation of the laws. In the process of the primordial universe's evolution, each law was not completely separate, but rather evolved and changed from a merged point, forming all things in the primordial universe. Battles were constant along the way, and Qin Hao collected many life forms from various races. Each had a gene level of 3 times or more, with the highest not exceeding 10 times. After all, the basic gene levels of most races were relatively low, and some special life forms with higher gene levels were rare and hard to come by. For 10 years, Qin Hao traveled and researched, leading a very fulfilling life. He even deduced the prototype of a secret technique. This secret technique had no other effects, only one: stimulating evolution. This was an accidental discovery, and even Qin Hao hadn't fully understood the reasons for its formation. However, within the secret technique, one could clearly feel various laws intertwined. These laws were neither merged nor completely dispersed, existing in an elusive state. Furthermore, the secret technique's drawback was very clear: its uncontrollability. After activation, the direction and path of evolution were uncontrollable. It was purely an evolutionary stimulus. Qin Hao applied it to many subjects, and almost all resulted in malignant evolution, ultimately leading to genetic collapse. As he delved deeper into the outside territory battlefield, Qin Hao's research gradually ceased. After entering a new area, the enemies Qin Hao encountered also gradually grew stronger. Boom! A huge energy blast directly struck the spaceship from afar. Even a top-tier F-class spaceship couldn't help but tremble. Its energy rapidly decreased, and its defenses began to shatter. Qin Hao instantly teleported outside the spaceship, his power condensing. A powerful force shot out, directly shattering and completely annihilating the energy that had attacked the spaceship. It's really troublesome. Every single one of them is so good at hide and seek. Qin Hao was quite speechless. He was using the most advanced detector, but some people could still evade it. After all, detectors weren't omnipotent. They could scan all enemies nearby, but not absolutely everything. Some even chose to enslave humans, then hide in a world ring, posing as passers-by and launching surprise attacks. Qin Hao had encountered such situations more than once. After deflecting the attack, Qin Hao's figure instantly vanished from its original spot, reappearing 1,000 miles away on a massive planetary fragment. The enormous planetary fragment, tens of thousands of kilometers in size, showed traces of stellar collisions and mergers within its interior. A continuously erupting stellar core was melting everything around it, leaving the entire fragment in a state where it could completely collapse at any moment. He really knows how to pick a spot, Qin Hao said with a light chuckle, standing on the fragment. Without any hesitation or giving the attacker any chance, he drew his longsword. His longsword unsheathed, he directly slashed out. The power of wind law, time law, and space law erupted, forming a powerful hurricane. Within the hurricane, wind blades formed by wind law, space blades formed by space law, coupled with chaotic time zones formed by time law, with attacks that were sometimes fast and sometimes slow, pushed the storm's speed to its extreme. The rapidly expanding storm swiftly swept towards the area ahead. Even the surrounding space showed faint cracks. But strangely, after the cracks appeared, they didn't completely tear, as if a force was constraining the power of space. Ah, 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 ah. A scream rang out, followed by curses and strong energy fluctuations from intense collisions. A huge flame surged in the core of the hurricane, but under the hurricane, the flame grew weaker and weaker, gradually turning from a sea of fire into a tiny flicker. A bizarre monster race creature, hundreds of miles tall, appeared in the hurricane. Its red feathers, massive wings, and plumes were visible. The fire in its eyes gradually dimmed, and the flames on its body completely vanished. Its body began to gradually erode, its entire form began to dissipate, and finally, no trace was left in its original spot. Even so, the hurricane did not disappear. It swept across the entire planetary fragment, pulverizing the tens of thousands of kilometers of stellar fragment, and even extinguishing the scorching stellar core. Chapter 221, Heading to the Star Tower after dealing with the enemies, Qin Hao continued his journey. As the area changed, the surrounding enemies also became more numerous and stronger. The deeper one went into the outside territory battlefield, the more one could feel the cruelty and chaos of this battlefield. King-level powerhouses were no longer the mainstream. More often, champion-level powerhouses were taking action. Even if there were champion-level existences, they were only members of a small team or even just errand-like existences. During his journey, Qin Hao's battles never stopped. His unhidden navigation made him like a light bulb in the entire area, potentially facing enemies at any time. However, these enemies posed no threat to Qin Hao. Each battle, instead, was more like a game, constantly encountering more powerhouses, more people's comprehension of laws, and more differences in people's secret techniques. Reaching the champion level in the universe was considered a genius existence, with deep comprehension in the application of higher laws and lower law. Many champions even had a certain comprehension of fusion laws. Through continuous battles, Qin Hao gained a lot of inspiration in his comprehension of laws. At the same time, through constant battles, Qin Hao gradually acquired his own title. From the Hurricane Marquis that appeared after battling champions, to the Hurricane King that he became after numerous battles with champions, Qin Hao gradually gained a certain reputation among champion powerhouses. This title, besides Qin Hao's demonstrated comprehension and application of wind law, was more due to the extreme speed of each of Qin Hao's battles. Like a hurricane sweeping away fallen leaves, it seemed very easy, and the most frequently used move was a hurricane-like secret technique. Almost every time a secret technique was unleashed, no one could resist it, and most ended in death. To this day, very few powerhouses have been able to escape from Hurricane King's hands. Most didn't even have a chance to flee. Some who managed to escape were those Qin Hao didn't react to in time. As soon as the battle started and they reached the battlefield, the enemy directly entered their spaceship and quickly reached light speed, not giving Qin Hao any time to make a move. Furthermore, from early champion to champion peak, almost every one of Qin Hao's battles ended in a single move. This fighting style made more people curious about this newly risen Hurricane King. Especially, this Hurricane King was also particularly keen on rescue. Upon receiving a rescue request, he would appear quickly, end the battle quickly, and leave immediately. Sometimes, it even left the rescued individuals bewildered. However, Qin Hao was not planning to stay in this area anymore. He was preparing to go to Star Tower. Although he didn't know if it would attract Zuo Shank's attention, Star Tower, whether in refining or law comprehension, should be the place that could give him the most inspiration currently. And perhaps there might be new check-in unlocks there. Are you sure Hurricane King is in this vicinity? That's right, we just encountered him not long ago. If we hadn't run fast, we might be dead by now. HMPH, this time we must eliminate him. He has disrupted our operations so many times. This person must not be allowed to live. Indeed, a human race powerhouse, and a newly risen one at that. No matter how strong he is, this time we have gathered over 100 undying powerhouses and more than 10 champions. We will definitely keep him here. Intercept a human race team and have them send out a distress signal. Saying this, an insect race king-level immortal ordered those around him. Yes, Kadar, sir. Saying this, more than 10 alien races quickly gathered and flew towards a spaceship appearing in the distance, directly launching an attack. Moreover, they controlled the speed of their attacks with extreme precision, forcing the spaceship to stop, but not directly annihilating the people inside the spaceship. Instead, they were constantly creating a sense of pressure and a glimmer of hope. These alien races were extremely skilled at such operations, and excitement filled every one of their faces. The upcoming battle was full of anticipation for all of them. The benefits of being able to eliminate a human race powerhouse, a human race genius, were very considerable. Every race had certain rewards for foreign races. The human race had military merits, and other races had their own calculation standards. Furthermore, for those who performed exceptionally well on the battlefield, especially those who were particularly powerful and talented, the bounty was even shockingly high. As a newly risen champion powerhouse on the battlefield, Qin Hao also received attention, and other alien races also offered bounties. It was precisely because of this that so many champion peak-level powerhouses gathered. After all, Qin Hao was already capable of single-handedly killing champion peak, so his power must be above the peak, perhaps even a peak king limit powerhouse. As for Invincible King, everyone directly ruled that out. Invincible King represented an absolute powerhouse among king level, capable of even contending with early venerable level existences. Their comprehension of laws had reached the extreme, and they could become venerable level existences at any time. Such powerhouses were highly valued by all races, and each one was a long-established powerhouse. How could a newcomer suddenly emerge and be such a powerhouse? And who could remain low-key until they reached Invincible King? However, Qin Hao was precisely the one they hadn't thought of. After receiving the distress signal, Qin Hao, who was currently navigating, directly turned his spaceship and headed towards the coordinates in the signal. The spaceship's speed immediately reached its maximum, entering the dark universe. After only a few minutes of travel, Qin Hao's spaceship reappeared, already near the coordinates. There are quite a few this time, actually over 10 champions. No wonder they're so arrogant. Qin Hao casually walked out of the hatch and put his spaceship into his world ring. Although his tone was light, Qin Hao also noticed something different. With over 10 champion-level existences, the small team in the spaceship, consisting of only 5 people, couldn't have lasted that long. The only possibility now was that these people's target was not those in the spaceship, but himself. Thinking of this, Qin Hao entered the battle circle, teleporting directly into the spaceship. Don't resist, I will take you into my world ring and get you out of here. Qin Hao said, directly taking the few people into his world ring. As for whether they would resist or agree, Qin Hao didn't care. If they resisted or disagreed, then there would be no need to save them. After taking the 5 people into his world ring, Qin Hao once again put the spaceship into his world ring, directly facing the dozen or so champions before him. You really intend to fight me with just yourselves, Qin Hao said, without the slightest hesitation, and immediately made his move. His longsword slashed out, and a hurricane storm directly formed, sweeping towards the dozen alien races. Chapter 222. One-sided battle in the starry sky. Hurricanes swept continuously, engulfing stars within tens of thousands of kilometers and turning them into dust. Within the hurricane, a dozen or so champions struggled to resist it, their divine power rapidly draining and their divine bodies gradually faltering, as if they could be ground to dust at any moment. Hurry and act. If we don't, we won't be able to hold on any longer. The terrifying hurricane made these dozen champions feel their lives threatened. Under such immense power, they were like ants, like mortals facing a natural phenomenon, utterly powerless to resist. Among them, a few relatively weaker ones had already begun to burn their divine bodies to break free from the hurricane. However, the surrounding wind blades, space law, and chaotic temporal forces made it impossible for them to tear open the hurricane. They could only passively endure the attacks. Each attack's power was comparable to their own strength, or even stronger, and such attacks occurred thousands upon thousands of times every moment within the hurricane. How can this be a strength a champion can achieve? The strength of champion powerhouses ranges from 10,000 times a World Lord's 9th-tier peak to several million times a World Lord's 9th-tier peak, a difference of hundreds of times. However, this feeling of helplessness forced them to reevaluate just how strong the Hurricane King truly was. Qin Hao observed the struggling aliens in the hurricane, his heart devoid of any ripples. Instead, he watched them with amusement, his gaze fixed on a patch of space not far away. We've been discovered. Get ready to go out. Let's rescue them first. There'll be some help. It seems we've really run into a tough opponent this time. The insect race Undying Kadar made the decision, and the others nodded in agreement. As one of the pinnacle races, the strength and troublesome nature of insect race powerhouses were renowned throughout the entire universe. As one of the strongest powerhouses in this small alien alliance, Kadar's decisions were rarely opposed by others. As he spoke, the space around the group of over 100 people shifted, and they appeared on the battlefield. Besides the 3 god ancestors leading them, the others charged directly towards the hurricane's location, powerful forces erupting from them. Every single one was a king-level existence, and many were even high-level champions. The immense power gradually tore open the hurricane. The moment a huge opening formed, the dozen or so individuals within the hurricane quickly seized the opportunity and escaped. At this point, they were extremely disheveled, covered in numerous injuries, and even their armor showed faint cracks. If they had been even slightly slower, their physical losses might have been even more astonishing. You are the human race's Hurricane King. I never imagined the human race would produce a genius like you. However, today, this genius will fall here. Kadar said, stepping forward, looking at Qin Hao with a playful tone. At the same time, there was a hint of something strange in his voice. If you release your sole defense and surrender to me, this will be your only chance to live today. Kadar said, his eyes flashing with light as soul power emanated from his body, attacking Qin Hao directly. This soul attack was extremely peculiar and accompanied by a hint of illusionary guidance. If one was even slightly careless, or if they showed even a trace of hesitation or indecision when seeing these 100 champions, this soul attack would seize the opportunity. However, such methods had no effect on Qin Hao. When Kadar spoke, Qin Hao felt the change in soul power and saw Kadar's soul attack coming. Qin Hao did not actively counterattack, but guided the soul attack into his sea of consciousness, where it was quickly devoured by the visualized stars within. At the same time, Qin Hao's figure instantly vanished from his original spot, appearing behind Kadar and the others with a blink. Wielding the longsword in his hand, another hurricane formed, sweeping towards Kadar and the others. With one hurricane appearing, Qin Hao's attack did not stop. He continuously swung his sword, and 9 hurricanes appeared in all directions, above, below, left, and right around Kadar and the others, completely locking down their path. He's actually comprehended Blink. It seems we truly can't underestimate him. Cab, the automaton race king-level immortal, said, simultaneously shifting his form into combat mode. His powerful divine power transformed into destructive artillery fire, directly blasting the hurricane before him. As one of the strongest in the small alliance, Cab possessed the strength of a champion peak and was even close to the peak king limit. He clearly saw Qin Hao's attack and quickly calculated a way to break the current situation. As Cab acted, Kadar and another monster race Undying also moved quickly, directly shattering the surrounding hurricanes. If these are all your methods, then you won't be leaving today, said Cab, Kadar, and Kunbu, the Azure Ox monster race king-level immortal, as they blinked and appeared beside Qin Hao. With the appearance of the 3 god ancestors, the surrounding space began to change. Space began to lock down. All 3 aliens were champion peak existences, with deep comprehension of space law, having comprehended Blink, and also possessing profound comprehension in spatial lockdown. It was precisely their comprehension in spatial lockdown that allowed this small alliance to confidently retain some equally powerful opponents. While they were locking down space, the other 100+ champions also moved quickly, standing in various positions and unleashing their respective comprehended space law. They were actually able to cooperate effectively, making the surrounding spatial lockdown even more stable. This level even reached the point of fully comprehending spatial lockdown. Ordinary people would simply be unable to blink away directly. However, for Qin Hao, no matter how many methods they had, they were just a joke. Qin Hao was more concerned with the effect of their cooperation, carefully observing the positions of everyone around him and sensing the changes in the surrounding space law. Qin Hao quickly understood the reason for this situation, and he couldn't help but feel the wonder of this world in his heart. Is there really no other path? Qin Hao looked at all the aliens around him, as if he were talking to them, yet also as if he were talking to himself. Seeing Qin Hao's reaction, the faces of the surrounding aliens lit up with joy, as if the fate of the person before them was already sealed. Then I'll carve out a path, Qin Hao said, raising the long sword high in his hand. Space law condensed at the tip of the sword, and the moment it slashed out, the surrounding space shattered. Pieces of spatial fragments followed the sword tip, sweeping towards the group of aliens in front of Qin Hao, space shattering. Chapter 223, Star Tower, Chapter 223. Star Tower space fragments, mixed with space law and wind law, rapidly formed a massive spatial storm under Qin Hao's sword strike. The surrounding space lock instantly shattered, and all space law and spatial power within the area began to become incredibly chaotic. The moment the spatial storm formed, dozens of champions in the area targeted by the longsword were directly swept into it. The powerful world power and the strength of millions of times, the peak 9th stage of Sector Lord Realm quickly began to obliterate the bodies of every king-level expert within. Divine power of various attributes was continuously eroded by world power and cosmic energy. Moreover, the spatial storm did not remain in place, but quickly swept to the side. At this point, the surrounding champions who realized something was wrong wanted to leave, but there was no longer any opportunity. Besides their immense destructive power, wind law and space law were extremely adept at speed. Before they could react, they were directly swallowed. Ultimately, only Cattle, Kabu, and Kunbu remained. The 3 of them also wanted to teleport away at this moment. However, the surrounding space had been completely space-locked by Qin Hao. Now, the 3 of them couldn't even move, only able to watch as the surrounding champions were dealt with one by one, directly forced into a state of slumber. The difference in strength among undying beings was more about laws. While gene level would bring some improvement, the comprehension of higher laws was the real key, and the Qin Hao they faced now far surpassed them in both fundamental strength and law comprehension. Under such circumstances, their only fate was to be slaughtered. Qin Hao was already very familiar with how to handle these individuals. After all, king-level experts still held some value. Qin Hao had no intention of killing them directly. Instead, after everyone lost the power to resist, he directly absorbed them into his myriad beast atlas, making them his slaves. Currently, the number of champion experts enslaved in Qin Hao's myriad beast atlas was not small, with most of them having been enslaved in the ancestral god tomb. These champion experts posed no threat to Qin Hao, and their growth potential was relatively limited. However, as subordinates, cannon fodder, or errand runners, they were all good choices. Rather than killing them directly, it would be better to deploy them on the battlefield later as cannon fodder for the human race. Under the horrified gazes of Kabu and the others, Qin Hao directly severely injured them with a single strike, then absorbed them into the myriad beast atlas. When Qin Hao didn't directly destroy their divine bodies and kill them outright, they already understood Qin Hao's intentions. They just hadn't expected that, even with a gathering of over 100 champion experts, including champion-level experts, they still couldn't take down the person in front of them. Moreover, the person in front of them so easily demonstrated space lock, having fully comprehended all three paths of space law. After endless regret, they entered the myriad beast atlas. Qin Hao did not linger in place. After releasing a few people and a spaceship from his world ring, he departed alone in the spaceship. This time, Qin Hao did not plan to stop in any other intermediate areas. The spaceship accelerated directly to light speed, entered the dark universe, and began heading towards the region where the Star Tower was located. As the most dangerous area in the entire outside territory battlefield, every expert within the Star Tower was formidable. Whether it was their life-saving abilities or their strength, they were top-tier among their peers. This single area alone gathered hundreds of thousands of king-level experts from various races. The reason such a large number of experts could gather here stemmed from the Star Tower itself. The Star Tower had existed for an unknown period, and countless geniuses from various races had attempted to claim it. But all had failed. Even the universe's strongest, upon arrival, could not affect the Star Tower in the slightest, nor could they even approach it. This fueled the curiosity of various races in the universe towards the mysterious Star Tower, thus attracting many geniuses from different races. The convergence of geniuses and experts from various races constantly intensified conflicts. Under such circumstances, the Star Tower became one of the main battlefields among the various races, and also the most dangerous area in the entire outside territory battlefield. Furthermore, the Star Tower naturally absorbed surrounding cosmic energy and law power, forming a massive energy vortex, as well as a complex environment with rapidly changing laws. This also made it a dangerous place that many experts wanted to explore, a location to seek opportunities for breakthroughs. As Qin Hao's spaceship entered the Star Tower's range, its speed began to decrease. After dropping to light speed, it exited the dark universe. Although the Star Tower was still an extremely long distance away, its appearance was already visible to the naked eye. The massive 9-light-year-long tower body and the even larger energy vortex formed by its self-absorption and exhalation made it seem as if half the universe was completely obscured just by looking at it from afar. Looking at the gigantic Star Tower, Qin Hao's heart surged. Was this the legendary divine King Supreme Treasure? From a distance, one could feel its peculiar aura. Even hundreds of light years away, one could perceive the Star Tower's influence on the surrounding time and space. Although not fully activated, the laws and divine charm inherent in a divine King Supreme Treasure already surpassed the primordial universe. The space and time enduring the entire divine King Supreme Treasure were also involuntarily affected. Qin Hao could clearly feel the difference in the surrounding law aura, and even felt that the comprehension of fusion laws had become much easier. This dangerous area in the eyes of others might become a blessed land for my cultivation. Qin Hao thought, and at the same time, he piloted his spaceship forward. He planned to continue alone, to witness the conditions within the entire Star Tower region. After all, within this entire area, Qin Hao's strength was already considered top tier. He would also venture into some relatively dangerous and complex areas, such as the central energy vortex, to seize more sealing stars to perfect his secret technique, and to observe and comprehend the refining methods of the Star Tower up close. These activities were not suitable for team action, but rather for independent movement. The closer Qin Hao got to the Star Tower, the more he could feel the intense aura emanating from it. The refining of a treasure not only required sufficiently strong refining techniques, but also deeper comprehension. The Star Tower was a weapon and also a path. Although he did not plan to interact with Zuo Shank, nor did he intend to have too much contact with him, he still had to admire the former God King. To be able to refine such a powerful divine artifact. Chapter 224, Full-Scale Pursuit. Chapter 224, All-Out Hunt. On the outside territory battlefield, a new genius has emerged from the human race. Preliminary estimates suggest his strength has reached the peak king limit. Currently, over 100 king-level immortals from various races have fallen by his hand. More than 50 champions from my monster race alone have died at his hands. Furthermore, it is understood that he has already entered the Star Tower region. Announce his information to all outside territory battlefield members, raise the bounty to the highest level, and ensure he is eliminated before he fully matures. At the same time, various alien races also successively uploaded their bounties to their respective platforms. At this moment, Qin Hao had already entered the Star Tower region. His spaceship rapidly navigated through the Star Tower region. Upon entering the Star Tower region, Qin Hao also felt the increasing number of powerful experts around him. Hundreds of thousands of king-level experts were in this entire region, making it arguably the densest area for king-level experts on the outside territory battlefield. During his several months of travel, Qin Hao had already encountered several teams of king-level experts. However, most of them were human race teams, and Qin Hao didn't pay them any mind, continuing onward. As he traveled, Qin Hao also observed the Star Tower. Although the distance was vast, he couldn't truly perceive its actual state. However, watching the 9 Revolution Nebula formed by the Star Tower devouring cosmic energy from afar, and sensing its operational trajectory, his body's various acupoints also began to imitate the 9 Revolution Nebula's trajectory, improving their energy absorption method. The 365 acupoints, the 365 worlds, also began to quietly change. The speed at which world power gathered accelerated, and even the diameter of these worlds began to gradually expand at an extremely subtle rate. It truly is a blessed land. The Star Tower's spontaneous mode of devouring cosmic energy is also a miraculous method. Perhaps in the future, I can use this mode as a template to develop a secret technique for rapid divine power recovery. Qin Hao mused in his heart, divine power is different from cosmic energy. No one at any stage would ever think their divine power recovery speed was too fast. Or rather, whether Undying, Universe Exalt, or Universe Lord, all feel their divine power recovery speed is too slow. From flesh and blood life to divine power life, the body is entirely composed of divine power. Divine power is their energy, and it is also their body. The consumption of divine power, to a certain extent, is also the consumption of themselves. And rapid divine power recovery is constantly replenishing life. If the speed reaches its extreme, it might even achieve a state of infinite divine power. In such a state, within the same rank, one would absolutely be an invincible existence. As he thought, Qin Hao began to conceptualize. The power devoured within his acupoints began to accelerate, the condensation of world power within his worlds sped up, and the expansion of his worlds also quickened considerably. While deducing and changing his energy absorption method and traveling, Qin Hao's luck was quite good. In 3 months of travel, he didn't encounter a single enemy, not even a human race spaceship. Boom! A powerful energy burst and a beam of divine power, condensed to its extreme, shot directly towards Qin Hao's spaceship like light. The immense energy gave no time to react. In the blink of an eye, it had already struck the spaceship, piercing through its defenses and impacting the vessel. Qin Hao had already sensed the attack when it arrived and instantly teleported to a distant location. Looking at his exploding and destroyed spaceship, he felt a pang of regret. This was an F-class spaceship, and its price was not low. Losing one meant losing points. At the same time, Qin Hao turned his gaze towards the direction of the attack. What entered his vision was a lynx several hundred miles tall. Its golden fur, pointed ears, and dangerous glint in its yellow eyes were striking. As Qin Hao looked at him, the lynx leaped, his figure constantly flickering in the starry sky. Each time was a teleportation, and the speed of teleportation was extremely fast, with each direction changing rapidly. Space lock. Qin Hao communicated with the law of power, and the surrounding space was quickly locked. The best way to deal with teleportation is space lock, and it is the only method. However, this only applies to those of similar strength. Space locked by a champion has no effect on a universe exalt. Among those of the same rank, mutual space lock may not always be completely effective to a certain extent. As Qin Hao locked the space, the lynx had already arrived around him. The moment he appeared, divine power condensed on his claws, directly shattering space, and the space lock was gradually broken. The lynx's figure teleported again, disappearing from his original spot. I didn't expect him to be a peak king limit. One who has comprehended 3 paths of the space law is at least a peak king limit. The lynx in front of him, demonstrating space shattering, undoubtedly means he has mastered all 3 paths of the space law, reaching the peak king limit, and possibly even approaching the invincible king state. Having witnessed the lynx's strength, Qin Hao also became somewhat interested. Space lock was cast again, and the surrounding space was once more completely locked. This time, the power exerted was even greater, and the space torn and shattered by the lynx's claws was quickly stabilized. The teleporting lynx's figure also directly appeared in the universe, no longer able to teleport. However, the lynx showed no fear. His eyes rapidly rotated, quickly transforming into a beam of light. The power within his body condensed, and the divine power throughout his entire being began to rapidly burn as he charged directly towards Qin Hao. Law of light, space law. Qin Hao looked at the lynx's moves. The laws were also very obvious. It was actually the law of light and the space law. Such a combination was something Qin Hao had never seen before, and it was very rare among cultivators. Most undying comprehend higher laws that are superior to the lower-level laws they themselves comprehend. The 5 elements laws comprehend the space law, while wind, light, and thunder comprehend the time law. The reason for this is the connection between higher laws and lower-level laws. The 5 elements laws are lower-level laws of the space law, laws evolved from the space law. Deriving upwards from this has a clear path, and they can also mutually promote each other. Higher laws and lower-level laws of different types have almost no connection between them. It is a path that starts completely from scratch, with greater difficulty and a longer journey. The only relatively special one is the wind law, which has very close connections with both time and space. Now, seeing the combination of the law of light and the space law, Qin Hao was very curious. How exactly did the lynx in front of him manage to do it? Furthermore, from the secret technique the lynx was currently performing, Qin Hao sensed a hint of fusion between the law of light and the space law, bringing the speed of the law of light to its extreme. Chapter 225, Continuous Battles. Chapter 225. Continuous engagements, both the law of light and space law, offer significant advantages in speed. Combined with the condensation and convergence of energy, the power unleashed also surpasses that of ordinary attacks. The power unleashed by the lynx at this moment also reached the peak state of a peak king limit, not far from an invincible king. However, the inherent gap in fundamental strength meant he still had a long way to go to reach the invincible king level. The lynx transformed into a streak of yellow light, its power condensed to the extreme, and its speed rapidly increased. Simultaneously, the spatial power on the lynx also quickly condensed, and its speed surged once more under the enhancement of space law. Furthermore, the lynx integrated his understanding of teleportation into his attack. During his advance, the lynx's figure constantly flickered, making it difficult to predict from which direction he would attack. Facing such a powerful attack, Qin Hao became slightly serious. His soul power spread out, sensing the lynx's trajectory and also perceiving the changes in space law and the law of light on the lynx. Time was extremely short. The lynx's attack had already reached Qin Hao. With a flicker, it appeared 10 meters from Qin Hao and charged straight at him. The immense power and speed were fully condensed, unleashing a formidable force that, coupled with the surrounding shattered space, shot directly towards Qin Hao. Facing the powerful attack, Qin Hao showed no surprise. With a thought, the surrounding wind law and space law were all mobilized, world power condensed, and a massive barrier appeared around Qin Hao's body. Although this barrier was formed in haste, it concentrated Qin Hao's understanding of the wind law and space law, even incorporating the fusion of the two laws. Qin Hao had fully comprehended the wind law, and had also fully comprehended 3 paths of space law, while also making significant progress in fusing the two laws. The barrier formed now. Even a beginner venerable would not be able to break it with a single strike. The lynx, transformed into a ray of light, struck the barrier with its powerful attack. Its extreme speed instantly brought to a halt. As the lynx's attack was about to hit the barrier, he already realized something was wrong and tried to stop. However, the powerful attack and speed meant he could no longer fully control it and was unable to stop. Although an undying can achieve 100% control over his power, he was still unable to completely stop the attack at this moment. Even though his speed decreased significantly, the lynx still directly crashed into the barrier. Boom. Subscribe for more amazing novel audiobooks. Don't forget to like, comment, and share Infinite Novel Audio. A colossal sound echoed as the lynx's figure halted. Powerful divine energy collided upon impact. Under the force of the secret technique's backlash and the collision, the divine energy on the lynx began to dissipate, and his body completely entered a state of rigidity. At the moment of impact, Qin Hao's hand flickered, and the barrier before him instantly transformed, directly enveloping the lynx. Simultaneously, the barrier's form rapidly changed, and the stable wind law and space law instantly erupted with powerful offensive capabilities. Streaks of wind blades and spatial blades rapidly formed, and the moment they enveloped the lynx, they began to attack relentlessly. The entire barrier at this moment seemed to transform into a giant meat grinder, constantly attacking the lynx without cease. The lynx reacted at this moment, but he was already trapped within. Feeling the surrounding attacks, he began to constantly mobilize his divine power to defend against them. However, under the powerful wind law, space law, and world power, the consumption of divine energy far exceeded his imagination. In an instant, his body had already been eroded by nearly 1%. Roar. Accompanied by a roar, the lynx's struggle became more intense. His divine power ignited, and the rate of burning accelerated even further. "Little cat, stop struggling," Qin Hao said, his tone calm. At the same time, his soul power directly probed into the lynx's sea of consciousness. Qin Hao's formidable soul power directly invaded the lynx's soul. His vast and pure soul power already surpassed many venerable level powerhouses. After his soul entered the lynx's sea of consciousness, it swept through like a broken bamboo, reaching the core of the sea of consciousness and the core of the soul. He completely controlled the lynx, and the lynx, who was in the prison, stopped struggling at this moment and became submissive. At this moment, Qin Hao also completely dispelled the prison. With a wave of his hand, the lynx's hundreds of meters tall body directly transformed into a small cat, leaping onto Qin Hao's shoulder. Not bad. Qin Hao looked at the lynx's condition and nodded slightly. Although a lot of divine energy had been consumed, with sufficient resources, he could quickly recover. This was his first enslaved peak king limit, and one who had comprehended the law of light and space law. Qin Hao still valued the links quite highly. Therefore, Qin Hao did not use the myriad beast atlas for this enslavement, but directly enslaved him with his own soul. After dealing with the links, Qin Hao continued to advance. With the links, Qin Hao could now cultivate and advance with peace of mind, leaving the task of vigilance entirely to the links. Ever since encountering the links, Qin Hao also noticed that he was encountering more and more foreign race powerhouses. Almost every time he traveled for a period, there would be powerhouses blocking his way. During a year of travel, Qin Hao encountered over a dozen waves of attacks. The weakest among them were champion pinnacle powerhouses, and these champion pinnacles operated in teams, each team consisting of at least 5 champion pinnacle-level powerhouses. He was attacked almost every month, and Qin Hao's comprehension was constantly interrupted. Qin Hao was somewhat puzzled by this situation. After all, even if the Star Tower region gathered many powerhouses from various races, the number of champion pinnacle-level powerhouses was still very limited. However, in 1 year, he had already encountered so many. Furthermore, monster race, insect race, automaton race, and even teams composed of peak king limit powerhouses had come. The frequency of engagements is a bit too high. I need to speed up and head to the core area of the Star Tower. Having just finished an engagement, Qin Hao collected the attackers into the Myriad Beast Atlas, directly entered his spaceship, increased the spaceship's speed to the maximum, and rapidly sailed towards the Star Tower. His observation and comprehension of the Star Tower and 9 Revolution Nebula from the periphery were complete. Next, he needed to approach the Star Tower, enter its core, and comprehend it up close. As for the situation over the past year, Qin Hao had already understood it. He had once again become a target for various foreign races. However, since these foreign races had done this, once his comprehension of the Star Tower was complete, Qin Hao also planned to play a big trick on these foreign races to make them remember their lesson. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Thank you for supporting the channel and enjoying these novel audiobooks. Every subscribe, like, and comment helps us grow faster. If you love revenge stories, overpowered MCs, rebirth novels, and fantasy audiobooks, make sure to subscribe and join the journey.